It's the Center Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Yes! Yes! Yes, this is my favorite part of the game.
Analyzing all of the league matchups week to week.
You can't win!
Get him a body bag! Finish him!
It is a bit above average.
I said this sucks, and basically so do you.
And discussing the boom, bust, and hidden gem players throughout the league.
We ain't found shit!
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Laces out.
Touchdown!
And here's your host,
Allow myself to introduce myself.
David Harbatkin. Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast for Week 13, the final week of the regular season. I'm your host, David Harbatkin, joined by the coach of the Hackettstown Hagglers, Mr. Gazelutsky.
Yeah.
And I'm also joined by the coach straight from the pharmacy, here to take his medicine, coach of the Hackettstown finest, Mr. Manny Friedman.
Yeah.
Anything interesting? I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention this week. Anything interesting happen in any of these games?
Don't remind me.
So on the show, we will be breaking down last week's games. There were a ton of exciting games with gigantic implications for the upcoming week. We'll go over our predictions for next week, although we're going to be doing them before the transactions because we got to get these done with today. So they'll be worse than our normal predictions. A bunch of Thanksgiving games too, so happy Thanksgiving to everybody. But in the meantime, let's get started with these games. Where shall we start? I mean, we could start... there's so many good ones. Were there any irrelevant games that were played? I guess the Mighty Whalers versus the Monkeys. Let's get this one out of the way. The Whalers, in the blowout of the week, just dismantle the Monkeys. I mean, first of all, obviously... the Whalers had a great game. Just the Monkeys have completely fallen apart here. The final score, 143.12 to 67.14. Ouch. I don't think that... even if he had played Winston, who had 32 points on his bench, there was not even a prayer that he had in this game. Watson with 23.92 points. Michael Thomas with 26 points. Only 4.8 for Lockett, 6.2 for Samuels. Only 7.9 for Mixon, who's been having a good few weeks. But then Ertz comes in out of nowhere with 27.1 points. 25.1 from Robinson. 9 from Tucker, and 13 from the defense. He had 12.4 for Singletary on the bench. Not much else on the bench there. As I mentioned, for the Monkeys, they had 32 points for Winston on the bench, but they ended up playing Matt Ryan, who had 8.6. Only 9.6 for Marvin Jones Jr. Anthony Miller with 13.7 points. He didn't do that poorly. But then 0.9 for James White, 8 for Saquon. I don't know what happened to that guy after the injury. 8.2 for Godert. 6.1 for Renfro, who got injured and is now out. Fairbairn with 8 and 4 points for the Atlanta defense. I don't know what else. I don't know what to say here. This was obviously Whalers needed this game. Not that it was much in doubt, but he needed this game to stay in the hunt for the bye and the second place seed, which, when we go through the scenarios, he has a good shot at it right now. And for the Monkeys, this pretty much ends their season. Is it possible? Is it possible for them? I don't think it is. They would have to have...
Yeah, they would have to have,
Not only would they would have to have everybody lose and score, 300 points. And I just don't see that happening. So I think that this pretty much ends the Monkey season. Not mathematically, or not... you can't put a star by it, but it's over. It's over for the Monkeys. But, 4 wins taking over for the Millennials. I mean, a successful inaugural season for him. And, hopefully they finish it out strong next week.
The expectations were really low. They were almost non-existent.
What's that?
The expectations for the Monkeys when he took over the team were almost non-existent. He did pretty well.
Yeah, and you consider those 4 wins happened after after starting 0-2. So, I mean, this could have been a different season if maybe he had started with the team to begin with, and maybe he could have had 6 if he had won those first 2 and had control of it. So you don't know, but certainly
a good running back core, but the rest of the team is trash.
Yeah, but even the running back core started to falter.
Yeah, they're good names, but their performance hasn't been great. I mean, besides Cook, who was off this week.
Yeah, Barkley's just been so disappointing. I mean, you thought, it looked for a while there when he made the trade for Cooper Kupp. I mean, that was like kind of a blockbuster trade. But both players, Kupp has been bad since then, and so has Barkley. So, I mean,
yeah. But if on paper, when he made the trade, I thought he did a good job with having Barkley and Cook as your 2 running backs. I mean, I think anyone in the league would sign up for that.
Oh, I know, and then still having James White there. I mean,
yeah.
He was looking like a dangerous team there, but it just didn't come together.
Yeah.
And for the Whalers, I mean, he continues to be hot, and like Yahoo predicted, one of the best teams in the leagues. I mean, he is. He's gonna be a tough. He's gonna be a tough out, no matter what happens there.
Right.
Third or second, he's gonna be a very difficult team for somebody to have to go through. So,
Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to play him. To be honest.
I'm hoping that I don't have to play him anymore. I'm hoping that my Week 10 game was enough, but we shall see. Any other thoughts on this game?
Pretty much covered everything.
All right, so let's move to some more exciting games. All right, we'll go to Wakanda versus Zamunda. This was also not an exciting game, really. So Wakanda, I mean, it was exciting in terms of what this does for Wakanda and the implications that it has, but the game itself was not that great. Wakanda handles Zamunda 118.74 to 76.88. Breeze with 29 points, only 9.5 for Kupp. That's one of the better scores he's had lately. After that ridiculous start, 12.6 for Randall Cobb, 24.8 for Mark Ingram, and 15.8 for Le'Veon Bell. So he has a pretty good running back core there, even after getting rid of Saquon. I actually think that his running back have improved with the addition of Bell. He goes with Doyle with 5.8, 7.8 for Scarborough. Chuck Scarborough. 5 for the Seattle kicker, and 8 for the New England defense, who, in that sloppy mess. But, I mean, still, New England, their defense is pretty damn solid. For Zamunda, of course, he played Derek Carr. I mean, there were so many better quarterbacks available, but Carr got 5.18. Terrell Williams, 3.18, so not much out of that Raiders combo there. 5.1 from Amendola. What are you, blending? 19.2 from Kamara. Only 4.8 from Geis. Kittle came back with 24.9 points. Adrian Peterson. So he played both Washington running backs who totaled like about 10 points combined. Adrian Peterson with 5.9. Carlson with 4, and 4 for the New Orleans defense. And he had the Philadelphia defense at the bench with 11. I mean, yeah, it's just bad for Zamunda. But for Wakanda, look, this was a gigantic win for them, and it really puts them in a position to, control their own destiny next week in order to get into the playoffs. Are you making a shake? What is going on over there?
I'm sorry. I'm just making some food.
This reminds me of when we used to have the millennials on in a club every week. I'm glad you're paying attention now that you're. I don't even care anymore. Whatever. After your result,
I'm 10-2. These games are pointless.
Sure, but for Wakanda, they're not. I mean, like to come back. I mean, also by the way, this might be one of the teams that you're playing in the playoffs, but none in the wild card round. But so you can just ignore it at your own peril. Anyway, yeah, I mean, for Wakanda to go through the injuries that they went through and now to be in a position where win and you're in, basically, I mean, that's a hell of a comeback. I mean, he withstood all of that to find himself in this position. I mean, you got to tip your cap to hockey. He needed a lot of help last week. Everything went his way. I mean, he was in 10th place going into last week's games. And then suddenly everybody in front of him lost. He vaulted all of them. And now he got the matchup against Zamunda and he won. And now he finds himself in a fantastic position to be able to make the playoffs. And we've said many times, and it's absolutely true, you just got to win. Where you got to be in to have a shot. And, yeah, hats off to Wakanda.
Yeah.
Anything else, Booger?
Ingram
or anybody
has been
else?
excellent.
And he's like quiche or whatever he's making over there.
I mean, how's your video game going, Geese? Anybody want to give any analysis? Does anyone?
Well, Ingram is extremely dangerous. That Raven offense, Jesus Christ.
I noticed
that's some serious. That's a seriously good team there. Le'Veon Bell, I guess that the Jets are actually picking it up, surprisingly. I mean, I was very surprised that they completely demolished Oakland.
Yeah. They're weird. I mean, they had that game against Dallas where it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I know. Very weird. Weird team.
I mean...
Kamara also has been very disappointing for having such a high stock to begin the year.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things, one of the things that kept the Panthers alive throughout that stretch of time when all those people were injured was having Murray, like Latavius Murray on the bench, to be able to have that Kamara role. Then he lost him, and he hasn't been the same. I mean, he still got 12.4 points in this game. But, for the most part, I mean, that's what sustained him until he could have his running backs, or until he could get the Bell deal. And until he could get Breeze back. But, he's still a good team. Just sitting right there, and, he's
Yeah, he is a good team.
Yeah. Zamunda is not, though.
No, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, Zamunda has struggled.
But, I mean, look, Zamunda has played a gigantic role this season. I mean, I was talking about it. I think I posted about it on Facebook where, like, if you reverse the games, so, the Finest ended up beating Zamunda by 0.12 points, the closest game of the season, and they ended up beating me. I mean, you reverse that, and the whole complexion of the league looks very different for this week. I mean, the 03ers could have been the ones clinching first place. But because of those wins, I mean, and there's been some other key moments where Zamunda has played a huge role. I mean, they've been almost like the Jets, where it's like, where did that come from, in some of these games? So, I mean, I don't know what the hell they've been doing with most of their moves, but, with their cryo chamber. But, I guess they've tried everybody out now, and they're ready for 2020.
Yep, they're ready to make a move next season.
I know. Hindsight is 2020, and so is foresight. So, whatever.
What's the farthest Zamunda has ever been?
In terms
have
of...
they been? Yeah, have they been to a championship game, or have they won?
No.
No.
I mean, he started out. He used to be 8-5. I mean, he's never. I don't even. He's. Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, I can tell you he's been atrocious since the Trump administration. He hasn't had a winning record since then. But Zamunda, I mean, formerly Nikki Baby, I mean, the furthest he's gone, I don't know. I'm not going to look this up. I don't even care. But he's been in the playoffs.
Okay. All right.
It's been a minute, though. It's been a while since he's been in the playoffs. You have to go pre-2000. So 2015 would have been, I think, his last playoff appearance. He played in the 5th place game, so he made it to the wild card round and lost to Gaten Casimir. 2014, he was non-existent. So I think he made the playoffs once and lost in the wild card round. Don't quote me on that, but the first year he made it to the wild card in the first year and then lost to the Blues there. So he has 2 wild card losses.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, I mean, standard Nikki Baby season. All right, now we can move into the exciting games. Geez, well, you were watching these. Which of the 2 really close Monday night coming down to it games do you wanna go?
Let's go to my nemesis right away without any hesitation. The Lightning Rods.
Well, I will let you go over this game in detail. Go for it.
Yes, I will go over this game in great pleasure. I will actually pause my video game to go over this. All right, so the Lightning Rods and the St. Louis Blues. All right, well, for those of you who don't know, the Lightning Rods had a interesting lead over the St. Louis Blues, who left all of their players for the Sunday night and Monday game. I don't know what the hell these guys are doing, but they like to push my patience to the absolute limits. So Lightning Rods had a 101.40 lead to something like 60-something points. So they had to make up 40 points, which I was going to the gym, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in God knows how long, just to dabble around in there. And Harbakin said that Hollywood Brown had 2 early touchdown receptions, and this was going to be – I mean, it was 101-91 right away, right off the bat, right off the top. So I was like, you know what? This is a joke. Lightning Rods is going to get buried. And then the game took its twists and turns, and a lot of exciting stuff happening here. And then –
well, because there was a couple field goals which brought down the Baltimore defense's score.
Yeah, so first of all, there's a lot of stuff going on in this Monday night game. There was a lot to manage. There was Kimmel's game, which I also had to have Jimmy Kimmel lose. Killer Trey also had to lose.
But we'll talk about that.
I couldn't have Dr. Hockey get too many points either, so that like I told Hockey, you can't control everything. So the 2 key elements in this game was if the Lightning Rods lost to the Blues and if Kimmel lost, that would put the Hagglers still clinging to a 6th place spot in the playoffs. Now, as the game wore on,
are you making dessert now?
Yeah, what is this? A 3-course meal you're making? All right, we'll give you the early crankings and the crunkings. But this is getting a little bit much. Can you just finish up your meal? Maybe you can skip dessert tonight? What are you doing over there?
No, it's a 3-course meal. I have wine going. I have some chips and salsa right now. That's what all the crunch is about.
Crunching up the bag, crinkling up the creases before you open it.
Continue your analysis, please.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks. All right, I'll talk over the crunching of the Fritos bag opening up before it goes into the salsa dip.
Yeah, the Friedman Lay's broadcast.
The Friedman Lay. That's your new nickname, Friedman Lay. We'll just wrap it funny this week. All right, Friedman Lay over there interrupting the analysis. All right, Booger. Let's go to commercial break, Booger. All right, so anyway, as we were saying, it's hard to control all the elements of this game, trying to keep everybody down. But at some point, I just had to focus on the lightning rods and Tillett. So in a complete ass-whooping blowout, it became clear that Tillett was not going to get his third field goal to
Well,
get.
can we not talk about that game yet? We'll talk about that in a second. Talk about this game.
All right.
Not everything's about you.
You asked me for my input. This is the input. Now shut up.
On this game. Get to the next
Going
one
back to
next.
lightning rods. Going back to the lightning rods. Okay, so there was a point in late in the game where I was starting to get really despaired, and then Goff threw an interception to Marcus Peters, which put Lombardi, what I thought at the time, was just 1 point behind the lightning rod. So I was hoping for a sack. But as I looked at the numbers, he was actually 2 sacks away, and the Rams are going to have the ball on their final drive. So as the crinkles and the crunches go on.
Do you not have a mute button while you're chewing?
So the Rams are driving down the field, and Harbakin. Now Harbakin, while I was at the gym, had the early advanced access to the game, if you will, and I had the delay. But when I got home, I had the advanced access to the game. So Harbakin was like blah 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 blah, and the Rams are on their final drive of the game, and I was cursing the lightning rods, going, "This son of a bitch, he's gonna do it again."
Because you needed, by the way, was because at that point, Andrews was no longer in the game, and Hollywood Brown weren't in the game anymore because it was such a blowout.
Yeah, because it's a 42-6 blowout at this point, and they took out all the skilled players and put in the D team just to do blocking or whatever. So the only hope that I had was for the defense. So the defense would just go back and forth, and the Rams. I mean, it got down to the last literal drive of the game. They're driving down the field, and this time I have the advanced nose. Harbakin has the delay. So they're playing and playing and playing, and I'm looking, and then Harbakin's like, "Oh man, I can't wait to see your reaction when they finally, if they got a turnover. You would just probably run down the hallway." And then Goff throws the pass, and it bounces off of Cooper Kupp's hands and into the defender for an interception, and I had to cover my mouth. I had to really contain myself. So I was like, trying to play Joe Cool, like, Harbakin, it's a pretty interesting game. And what play are you on? He's like, oh, yeah, Woods just caught the big catch and blah, blah. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Trying my best to play cool hand, Luke. And he's like, right now, you really need a pick. I'm like, really, a pick, huh? That'll be interesting. Playing it as cool as I possibly can. And then Harbakin finally saw it, and he's like, no way. Lusky, he just got a pick. I'm like, yeah. So I know Gaten Casimer's never listened to these broadcasts. He actually posted on Facebook. He was watching the game.
No, he listens to these all the time. He's actually the first one to get him. He's actually he gets the notifications for these videos now.
Well, if you're listening to this portion of it, Mr. Lightning Rods, yeah. So I was very satisfied with that, which puts us in an interesting. We still have to win to get in, but you know what, Lightning Rods? I'll say it once again. Yeah, Lightning Rods.
No, but this, it was unbelievable. It was literally the only thing that could happen at that point. I mean, you were also in danger, by the way, because if the Rams score there just on a garbage time touchdown, that'll lower Lombardi's defensive score, and then then it's over there. I mean, it's basically the last play of the game. I mean, and if they got the ball back, that's it. They're just going to down it, which is what they ended up doing. So the only thing that could have happened was either a fumble or an interception.
Yep.
And for that to happen, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
I mean, a sack wouldn't have done it. Nothing would have done it except for this one play, and it happened. I mean, if it was me and I needed this to happen, I would have been. I don't know how you contained yourself. I would have been running down the street like a madman, going, "Yes!"
Well, it's funny. The only reason I contained myself is because you made the statement a couple of seconds before it happened. I can't wait to see your reaction if they got a pick. I was just like, you know what? Oh my god, you just got a pick. What do I do here? I was just clenching my jaw shut. All right, I'm back in. Let's just wait and see how this plays out.
Do you think if I wasn't on the phone that you would just be running down the hall?
Yeah, without hesitation, I'd be running. I would have thrown a rock through my window and yelled to the neighborhood.
Ripped off your shirt like Dr. Hockey when the Giants won the Super Bowl
another
that time.
chapter in the Lightning Rods Hackestown Hagler rivalry moment. If you look in the league, though, this might be the biggest rivalry in fantasy football.
I mean, there's another one brewing, but yeah. I mean, as far as other rivalries, I mean, certainly.
Well, if you're referring to Nick and Jamie and Manny Friedman, you kind of have to win to make it a rivalry.
Yeah.
Sorry, man, I couldn't resist.
Okay, all right. So it's not a rivalry yet until I beat him.
I had to throw it in there, Manny. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, like me and Tillett is somewhat of a rivalry, although it's so gentlemanly that I mean, I can't consider me and Whalers a rivalry because it's just not. I mean, it's weird with me and Whalers because we kind of alternate years where we get to the finals and then just lose. And I don't know.
That's gonna be to me this year.
What? It's my turn to get there, hopefully, but we'll see. I don't know if it will. But I don't. Yeah, I mean, the Blues has eliminated me a bunch of times. I mean, I wouldn't consider those rivalries though, as much as me just, screwing it up against certain teams. I don't know. Yeah, I think yours has to be probably the biggest rivalry. And the ironic part is that up until this season, he wasn't even aware that it was going on.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you stop listening, Geese? Did you accidentally press the mute? Or are you eating chips now? What's going on?
No, this was a fantastic game. It was super dramatic until the end. And if the Blues had Willie Snead, for example, I mean, this game would have been a blowout almost. But
yeah, I mean, he also could have played Deebo Samuel. I mean, Woods. I mean,
How many Ravens can he have on his team, though?
Deebo Samuel, though, who was on San Francisco, he had 13 points on the bench. I mean, Robert Woods had 15 points. He could have had something in that Monday night game. I mean, and the Chicago Bears defense, who usually gets more points, it was outplayed by Baltimore. I mean,
Yeah.
And
True.
mind you, this was a game without Mahomes for, because the Blues had all of those.
So this was an excellent win, considering no Mahomes.
Yeah.
Considering, no Keenan Allen. That's a good win.
And it keeps the Blues, in line to
have a bye. It was a big win. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he could still get a bye. I mean, it's still an outside chance. He has the longest shot of it, but he could still get a bye or third place. So, a loss here would have taken that chance away from him. And for the Lightning Rods, look, he still has a chance to make the playoffs too. And we'll go over all the scenarios after this, but I mean, basically a win and some help, and he could still get in.
Who did he trade Brandon Cooks for? It was some crappy trade, I thought.
It was Melvin Gordon.
For
right.
Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, I guess they were both kind of trash, but.
I mean, but the ironic thing is, look, the Blues. I mean, we know how this season started for them, with the auction and Odell Beckham. But look, Beckham had a 20-point game. If you don't have Beckham in this game, you don't win this game. So,
right,
But
the Rams' offense has really fallen apart. It's crazy. I mean, it's insane. They've really, really fallen. I mean, I can't even believe that they represented the NFC in the Super Bowl last year, and they pretty much have the same team as they do this year. It's not like they really changed their personnel.
But it also happened mid-season. It's not even that. It was just, it was mid-season that they just stopped. I mean, because what was it? The Seattle game they played, and I mean, the amount of points that were going around in that game were insane. And then after that, just nothing. I don't know.
As soon as the Cooper Kupp for Saquon Barkley trade happened, the Rams offense just completely fell apart.
Yeah, you'd think like, and it only happened in our fantasy league yet.
Yeah.
Yet somehow it had this massive implications in the actual NFL. I don't know. Interesting.
Yep.
All right, now we can go to the other game, which Geese already wanted to incorporate into this one. Well, unless you have anybody has anything else on this game.
No.
All right, so let's go to the other game, which Geese was alluding to. Geese, you want to go over this one as well?
Well, I mean, I could pretty much, since since it's how sweet it is. It's a double dip. Hagglers. And the second half of what had to happen on Monday night, it was Dave's Secret Crush versus Tillet's toilet team. All right, Tillet. It's time for one last flush, buddy. All right, here we go. So, Baker Mayfield was a great play for Dave's Secret Crush with 30.58 points. I don't want to trash talk this team too much since I have to play them this week, and it's kind of important. So I'm going to be very high on Dave's Secret Crush this week. Great job, Eugene. No, you're in the
Didn't he pay like $50 for Mayfield or something insane?
It was pretty exorbitant, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened to Cooper. I'm sure you'll have to look to Jerry Jones for comments on Amari Cooper's performance this week. Jacobs with 4.6 was interesting. Sanders and Hawkinson, there's a familiar haggler face right there with 0 points. That's lower than my 1.6 points that I had him for that week. And he actually played, so that was great. All right, so the Evans and Godwin combo. Oh, my God, Godwin, good God. He had 37. And then Evans with 9. I mean, I guess it all balances out. Lambeau and the Cleveland defense after that Myles Garrett Fracas got 7 points there. 109 points, but the real story here was Tillett Trey. Going into the Monday night game, Zerline, so they trailed 109 to 100. So Zerline got 2 quickie field goals in the first quarter, I think. One was a 3-point, and then one was a 4-point. And when Harbakin told him about the 4-point, he was like, ooh, that's going to sting, Bob. Just the way Harbakin says things, you kind of know where he's going with it. Ooh, that's a 4-pointer, Bob. I'm like, you could have said it another way, you douchebag. Anywho, as the game got on and on and on, his quarterback, fortunately Harbakin got distracted with his quarterback, so he got punch drunk with Lamar, like, ooh, look at Lamar go on and on and on and on.
I was not saying any of that. I was not watching any of it. I needed 2 points. I tuned out of our game. I mean, we could get into that, but yeah, I was not paying attention to him at all. I just kept getting egged on by Hockey, who was texting the whole time.
Before you can blink your eye, let's just say the Ravens had built up a beatdown lead, and we both agreed that Zerline was going to be a non-factor. So, I mean, we weren't even talking about this game. So Tillett, unfortunately, is the victim of the very close game loss once again. And ironically,
how many times is he going to be in the? I mean, he came on this podcast and said how he loves close games. The problem is he's always on the wrong side of the close games, but he's in so many of them. He likes the excitement.
But the sneaky part about that is, look who's involved in this close game again for Tillett, Amari Cooper.
Oh my God, that's true.
There's that ghost, the specter in the background, invisible.
Yes, how many close games with Tillett has Amari Cooper been there and not getting a point? Like 1 point from Amari Cooper would make all of them. This time he finally benefited. Or no, I'm sorry, he didn't benefit from it. It didn't even matter this time. But yeah, wow, 0.
He's always able to laugh at him. I almost feel like this. Like Cooper is his M. Night Shyamalan. When you look at the movie again, you look, oh my God, I can't believe it. Look in the background, who's there? Amari Cooper.
Yeah, it's almost like the Mike Evans was for you that season.
Yep.
And wouldn't by the
how
way,
many teams
if we're
can have? Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, which could be some foreshadowing as you're playing Mike Evans next week. Yeah. just to make you a little bit nervous, M. Night.
Mike Evans and Amari Cooper actually went up against Tillett this week. He got the bullet.
No, but I'm saying you're playing Mike Evans next week.
Oh, I know how to deal with Mike Evans. Don't worry about it.
All right, well, let's see.
How many teams with a double goose egg can come up with a win? I don't know if it's impressive or lucky.
I mean, so for Tillett, the 36 points for Fournette were huge. Chark got 10 out of that. I mean, that Jacksonville game was just a points machine. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but whew, he got the Bellagio, only 3.6 points. This is what I said. Why I didn't want to spend the money on him, even though, I mean, he's just atrocious. Layered an egg too. So it does. I mean, that I don't even know what to do there. Clem Crowder with only 3.8 points. That's tough. And Tom Brady with 13.3. That's tough as well. And Julio Jones, didn't he go out with an injury?
Yeah, shoulder. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, that one more field goal could have. I mean, it would have put Tillett in a position because he's playing the Monkeys next week, where he could have limped into the playoffs with a win. Now, I don't know. This gets much tougher for Tillett to make it. And how many seasons? Not only is he the guy who's always involved in these games where it's like 1 point making the difference. How many times has he missed the playoffs by one game? Like that's been decided by that 1 point. I mean, the history of Tillett is just. I mean, they are absolute cardiac kids.
Yeah, by far.
And to answer your question, from the last time about Zamunda, I mean, Tillett has made it to the finals. So he's the only team to have. He's the only team to have made it to the finals and lost, besides the Whalers and the 03ers. So, yeah. The only other thing about so as far as the Zerline thing, you could tell at halftime. I said, like, right when halftime started, I said to you, because Baltimore got the ball, I'm like, if Baltimore scores here, field goals might not, no longer be a factor because they're not going to kick. And it was like 6 points. So even if they got a touchdown, it looked like they were going to go for 2. So it was starting to look like that was going to be the case. And just as the game wore on, I mean, this had to be just so hopeless to watch. Like, to see like, oh, okay, we got this. And then just to see the game unfold and be like, oh my God. And just to know, like, in the back of your head for like 30 minutes, like, it's not going to happen, is it? Like, it's not.
Well, remember, Harbakin, I think you're kind of grown as a coach, because remember what I said to you after, like, 4 points. That's got to hurt. He doesn't have it till he has it. And that's the second time this has happened this season, where, remember Nick and Jamie had Galladay and had that big game in the first half against the Packers. He had all those points. The second half, he just fell short.
Yep.
I said the same thing to you. They don't have it till they have it. And that's where I've grown as a coach. Like, it doesn't matter what happens in the first half. You can just be, like, down to the 1 micrometer line. You're not in till you're in.
Yeah.
It's very interesting this season.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way Tillett could have won this game is if the Rams scored 2 touchdowns and they had 2 extra point attempts.
Yeah, but it looked like they weren't even going to do that anyway, because I think they would have gone for 2.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. They were down so much, at halftime.
Now, Manny, you have to understand, like, Zerline had 7 points in the first quarter. So
yeah.
It looked like it was in the bag for Tillett.
Yeah, and they didn't have it until they had
True.
it. Which will lead us into the next game. I forgot about our game. Our game was a largely irrelevant game. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, So
gives you a freaking chance for first place.
No, I mean, look, the implications were huge. We knew that, but look, we said going into this game, the Hagglers had an uphill climb, given their roster and how everybody was out, and then on top of that, I never say never, especially against the Hagglers who have beaten me with a complete, group of garbage men, and it looked there in the beginning. Like I saw flashes of that championship game happening again here, and I was petrified. I mean, you had a touchdown reception in the Jets game to a nobody tight end that you picked up out of nowhere. I mean, I was Sam Darnold with 32 points. I was, that's like the Flacco. I mean, and it was going to come down to the Monday night again, where I was just going to need minuscule amounts of points from the quarterback. Now, thankfully,
you got a hefty sum.
Yeah, but look, I've been in that circumstance. I mean, it's just like you said, you don't have it until you have it, but which was what happened with Nick Foles. I mean, it was shaping up very much like, and I had a big lead, on Sunday night, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, you just start racking up points in the Sunday night game, and then the next thing I know, you had a lead, and you're not there until you're there, like you just said.
Good point, but again, 161 points. I mean, your point total is just crazy this year.
Oh, I'm aware,
I mean,
and that's with a lot of points on the bench. But all right, let's get into the analysis of the game. So 161.06 to 116.30. So Darnold with an impressive game, 32.2 points, 9.5 from Gallup, 19.3 from Adams, 15 from Williams, Jamal Williams, 8.9 from Hines, 10.3 from Griffin, basically on that one touchdown reception. Tyler Gabriel, he only got 2.9, 11 from Lutz. But finally, I can actually match your kicker. Look at that. That's amazing. 8 from the Detroit defense and only 2 from the Jacksonville defense. For the 1603ers, Lamar. I mean, 46.20. And this was interesting. Did we have this conversation on the air or not? But where I asked you what kind of lead would you need going into the Monday night game to feel comfortable?
50 points is not really enough. And look at Lamar, 46. I mean, it's not a joke. This guy is fucking an animal. I said that for the whole game. This guy is an animal.
Yeah, you said 50 points and you might feel comfortable. And you wouldn't have felt comfortable if it was 50 point if you had a 50-point lead.
No, I would have been sweating my balls off. You got 46. 46 points.
Yeah. And then adding to that total, I mean, you had DJ Moore with 31.
DJ Moore with 31. If you're going to get those kind of numbers from 3 guys, you're not going to lose. I'm sorry.
Devontae Parker with 15.1. McCaffrey with 34. Ajayi with only 1.6. Waller is continuing his downslide, but now Renfro's out, so maybe that'll mean good things for Waller. Golden Tate, he got 12.3, and that was basically on that one touchdown, and then he got a concussion, but I'll take it. My little young-ho kicker matched Lutz, and then only 2 from the Jacksonville defense. But like I said, so I was watching the Thursday night game. I didn't play Fuller. First of all, they didn't say that he was going to play until like right before the game, and I'm like, it's his first game back, and you know. And Will Fuller, of course, gets 21 points. And I'm, like, distraught after that. I'm like, oh, man, am I going to lose? Is this going to be another one where I lose to the Hagglers like this? So, yeah, but it was okay. DJ Moore more than made up for it. But, I mean, if you look at the receivers on the bench, I mean, 19 from Tyler Boyd, 19.6 from Beasley, 14.9 from Westbrook. Kirk was on a bye. I mean, yeah, we have the potential to put up some points sometimes.
Yeah, you almost would have had 200 again.
I could have actually, couldn't I have? I played some bench blunders here. You change out some of these, I could have had 200 again.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but then the problem is that my team will, when it comes down to an important game, we'll shit the bed. We'll get 200, when it's, whatever, it's just a gravy. But when I need it.
First of all, let's cut you short for a minute there. Let's look at my lineup and how many of these people were emergency plugins.
Yeah, 0. First of all, 0 points on the bench for
These guys are emergency plugins. Period.
Yeah, 0 on the bench. Like most of these guys.
If you look at the bench, is that a record for the bench this season? 0.
I mean, you didn't even have. Not only was it 0 on the bench, I don't even think you had 0 chance of getting any points from anybody on the bench.
Yeah, the 2 people who could have got points were out.
Yeah.
Everybody else is on bye. Okay, so whatever. So this was just whatever.
But I mean, to get 116 points out of this game, especially considering that you're in a battle for points right now. I mean, because
what I was hoping. The biggest thing that I was hoping in this matchup with you, Harbacken, was that Hockey and Kimmel was going to lose. It wasn't even about the Harbacken-Lusky matchup. It was the other teams, and they did. So it was fine.
The biggest thing.
Our goal.
I mean, the biggest thing in our matchup, also, like we said yesterday, last week, neither of us were watching our own game because the only thing I was rooting for was for Hackettstone's Finest to lose. So we were both looking at other games.
Yeah, definitely, by far.
So and to hopefully win, which we did. So okay. Which brings us to I guess next week's games. There's no other games. Is there any other games to cover?
Do we really have to cover my game? It's depressing.
We have to go to it. We have to do it, buddy.
So what does Manny say to you every week when you walk into?
goes, "What happened, buddy?" Or more specifically, "What happened to your team, buddy?" So let me do the honors, Manny. And then we're not at work. What happened to your team, buddy? What happened there?
What happened, buddy? It was. What can I say? This freaking Nick and Jamie, they're my kryptonite.
Clearly.
I can beat every team in this league except for this one. And it is, they don't even have a great team, and it's really disappointing because I could have sealed first place this week. I wouldn't have to worry about facing the 1603ers who puts up 160 plus every week. And I mean, freaking Ryan Tannehill had 36 points. So I was sitting pretty in this game until the third quarter of the Tennessee-Jacksonville game. I wasn't even thinking of checking the scores. I was like, I sealed the bye. I have a month off. I can, snooze it up for the rest of the regular season. I can just watch the rest of these people suffer, through injuries, through, tough matchups, et cetera, et cetera. And then I checked the phone in the third quarter of of the 4 p.m. games, and I look at my phone and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Because freaking Nick and Jamie had the lead because he had freaking 2 firsts from Tannehill to Henry. And I think Henry connected on like a 70-yard touchdown. Tannehill freaking ran it in for a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And I proceeded to get some alcohol after that because it was depressing.
And now you're opening up some chips. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I had pretty much relegated myself to go, okay, well, it would have been nice, to be able to play for first place, but all right, it's not going to happen. It was done. But, this is a lesson in fantasy football. I am not a religious man. I'm not. I'm agnostic when it comes to religion. But when it comes to the fantasy gods, I'm in church every Sunday. There are things that I do to not piss off the fantasy gods. I never pick my team to win on this broadcast. I never. I only check the scores at the end of a quarter or a half. I don't check it mid-game. I will withhold urinating no matter how desperately I have to if things are going well, because I don't want to release the bad or release the good urine. I mean, I'm a lunatic. I won't go out to dinner. I won't go out to get something to eat after what happened with the burritos in the championship game. And this is the kind of thing that will wake you up to the fantasy. You've been thumbing your nose in the fantasy gods.
I have. I've been blowing smoke on the Hindu gods.
Yes.
Karma
they're not...
has not affected me yet, but I'm afraid it has in this game, and it's quite disappointing as Nick and Jamie were my only loss in week 1.
Yeah.
So
this
disappointing. I mean, I needed 19 points in the Monday night game, and freaking Todd Gurley wet the bed and only gave me 4.9 points because the Rams just can't do anything on offense right now. It was terrible.
Yeah, so all right, let's break down the game. So the final score is 143.26 to 129.26. So, wow, an actual even number of difference. So for Hackett Sounds Fine, it's 13.16 for Brisket, 27.4 for DeAndre Hopkins, 11.9 for John Brown. Chubb had 25.4, 12.6 for Hunt, 21.9 for Cook. That was a good pickup. As you mentioned, 4.9 for Gurley, 11 for Prater, and only 1 for the Oakland defense. For Nick and Jamie, Tannehill, as we mentioned, 36.36 points. Galladay got 10.1. 22 points for Ridley. I remember saying on the program last week, watch out for Ridley in this game, and I was right. 28.5 for Derrick Henry, 21 points for Williams on Thursday night. Fells only got 3.4. T.Y. Hilton with only 4.8. Gay got 5 and 12 for the Pittsburgh defense. Yeah, I mean, like for like I said, I had written this off, and then you were in the third quarter. All you needed was and then 65 points. 65 points between two players in the third quarter. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And then and as we're watching it, so they took the lead, and you're like, all right, well, I still have Gurley, and then and they just kept opening up a bigger and bigger and bigger lead till it got to 19 point something. And
here's what I expected from Manny. Here's how I thought the narrative would be. Well, you know what? What made you pick up Cook? Well, I saw him just hanging out there, Being at 10-1, I was bored, so I was thumbing through the free agency because I wasn't satisfied. So I picked up Cook, and well, much to my surprise, he had 21.9 points. So there was a point in the game where Cook had a touchdown pass him. I'm like, Manny,
Well, I was extremely smart to pick up Landry at some garbage, but I should have played that garbage this week because that was a huge bench blunder. But I didn't want to play 3 Browns.
I seem to recall talking about that last week as well.
What can Brown do for you? That's the theme of my season, and I didn't follow that.
Yeah.
I also had John Brown, who went for 37 last week, but only gave me fucking 11.9 points this week. So,
yeah, I mean, this is a bench blunder that can cost a lot. I mean, is there a potential for a more costly bench blunder? We'll see.
We'll see. We have a important matchup, which we'll get into later.
But, I mean, it's the kind of thing, I look back at the championship game 2 years later. 2 years later. I still don't even remember the guy's name. I always call him Lee. Who's the actual guy? Cole?
His name was Keelan Cole, for God's sake.
Right. So Cole, that was the difference right there. That was the difference. Or I could have just played Kirk Cousins that year. These are things, it doesn't only stick with me. It will stick with me forever. Or until... if I ever win a championship, maybe then we could erase it. It's like the Buckner thing. It will just stick with you. This has the potential to stick with you like the stank of Bill Buckner and your franchise. I mean, your entire offseason, you'll just be thinking, Landry! I could have just played Landry! It will drive you mad.
Well, if I didn't have 3 Browns, I clearly would have played him. So I think the fact that Geza traded me Kareem Hunt is what, prevented me from playing Jarvis Landry.
Oh, and you have the potential to think about all of these scenarios and how it broke. Trust me, the ways in which you will break it, if this doesn't work out, and I'm not saying that it won't, we don't know yet, but if it doesn't work out, this can drive you insane. This is a welcome to the game, coach, as hockey would say. This is the kind of you will be. This could just break you down. This is how the Joker was made. The little.
I never thought Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry would be the ones that, beat me. I mean, if it was like McCaffrey and Lamar, okay. But,
I mean, Giz, you've been around forever. I mean, how much can this game possibly break him down? I mean, just all of it. The fact that it's Nick and Jamie.
There's just not too many 10-2 teams that have had a playoff type of game before their bye. Playoff scenario before you get your bye. Usually the playoffs happen after your bye. This is a playoff game, Manny. You have to win this game.
Yeah, no, I
mean, I can also hope for a Whalers loss, but I don't think that's likely with how good their team is. And I don't know. It's getting stressful at the top, to say the least.
It could be a record for 10 plus win teams at the end of the season at the top of the bracket.
Yeah, you could have,
You can
and
have
that's the other
4.
thing. You were within a quarter of the all-time record for wins in a row.
Yep.
Gone. You can't get that until next November. You can't get that until the 2020 election, until we know who the next president is. That's gone.
Yeah, at least I tied.
Yes, you do hold that honor with the champ was here. Although I have to say Ty goes to the champ, I would think at this point.
Yeah, was it last year when
It was last year.
Yeah, the tie goes to him. He's definitely 1A, I'm 1B, but that will hopefully switch.
So, I don't know. Anything else on this game, or do you want to mercifully move on?
Let's move on.
Geese?
That's it. I mean,
Well, I went on a 10-game winning streak after my loss to Nick and Jamie in week 1, so hopefully it's the same now. So hopefully I can go on another winning streak. Hopefully this is just like,
Or did they start your losing streak? Are they the bookends? Are they the bookends for your wins?
That's what you hope, but I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know, but I do hope it. Hope springs eternal. Okay. Oh, but we've been covering this angle. Can we talk about Nick and Jamie for a second? I mean, like we've been covering it from your perspective. Nick and Jamie, my God, I mean, they are the cardiac kids too. I mean, they were 1 quarter away from being eliminated. I mean, years ago, or the year that you went on the run, Geese, to win the championship, you needed miracles to happen. I mean, how close were you in that? You needed everything to break your way, and it did.
Yep.
You needed that holding call for the 5 yards to bring you back that made the
difference. No, but that's the one part of the whole streak that I didn't count on. Like that like when you look back, that's what happened.
Yeah, but I mean, if Nick and Jamie, if they go on a run, if they make the playoffs, if they win the championship and become the second or the first team to ever win 2 championships, I mean, they're going to look back at that third quarter.
I mean, yeah, that third quarter is going to be the catalyst. That's going to be the magic moment that nobody saw coming, especially not the Hackettstown's finest.
No, I mean, and in the storylines, I mean, there's so many storylines about and so much at stake right now for who would be considered the best team of all time. I mean, like we already have you and all time thus far. We have you and hockey in there. If either of you were to win the championship, I mean, obviously, you get crowned as the greatest of all time, you or hockey, because you'll be the only ones with two championships. If Whalers wins, I mean, he has to be considered the greatest of all time so far. I mean, to be in half of the championships and then to finally win one, I mean, there's no question. Even though he'll only, he'll have one, but he'll have one with all of that on their resume. I mean, the 1603s, we've been to, if we can make a championship game, we'll have been to half of them. And then if we win one, then we get to, and we've made the playoffs every year. And the Whalers has missed the playoffs only once. I mean, there are so many, and if Nick and Jamie can win the championship, they'll be the team to win 2 championships, the first ever also, and they'll be considered the greatest of all time. I mean, I mean, what's at stake? This playoffs.
So what you have here is Dr. Hockey, Nick and Jamie, and myself are in the running to win our second championship.
Yeah, you're the only teams that could win your second championship.
So there's a lot going on in the playoffs right now. And then you have a couple of teams that'll be their first, right? Harbacken, Whalers, and Manny are the first, or Kill It also.
Yeah.
So either you're going to have 2 championships for the winning team, or somebody's going to get their first, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and no offense to you, Manny, but you're the only one who wouldn't be considered the greatest of all time if you were to win. You would be, you get off to the best start out of anybody, which is
out of anybody, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I mean, you'd be on track to be able to be the greatest of all time. So, I mean, even your storyline to be the one to win it in your first season. Nobody's won it in their first season. People have won it in their second. Nobody's won it in their first. So that's sitting there for you.
That would be a big accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, any team that still has a pulse in this league right now in this season has, sitting before them, whoever gets the championship, just gets accolades thrown at them. I mean, they will, and then to have won. I mean, and just aside from all that, to have won this season. I mean, with everything that's gone on, I mean, that in and of itself is gigantic. But just the all of the other the storylines with it. I mean, people are. This is a season where you play for greatness. People are playing for greatness at this point. It's not just a championship. Everybody's playing.
It's ironic Manny comes in at this season. It's the season of greatness.
Yeah. So with that, I guess.
It will
go ahead.
Make my ego pretty big if I win.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
I will definitely have a huge target on my back if I win this year.
I mean, did you see my little bullseye that I showed you in that little?
The only one that hits that target is Nick and Jamie.
So far.
Everyone else has missed.
So far.
And they've got it right in the middle, like bullseye.
Bullseye. All right, so I guess that's it for last week's games. I mean, and what a week this last week was. I mean, so exciting. Which it only gets more dramatic next week. So you guys want to go over the standings before the break or after the break, because we're not going to be able to do transactions. This is not a difficult decision.
After the break, you'll give us something to talk about.
All right. So we are going to take a quick break. We will be right back after this to discuss the standings, the playoff scenarios, and next week's games with our not so great predictions, because it will be prior to the transactions. But we do have a lot of early games because we have Thanksgiving coming up. So stay tuned. We will be right back right after this. So, Hackettstown's Finest does remain at the top of the standings in first place, the only 10-2 team. They've stayed atop the league since, week 6 or 7? But right behind them is the 1603ers with 1,675 points, more than 100 to their next closest. The Whalers at 9-3 also with 1,565, and the Blues at 9-3 with 1,444, which is actually less points than Dave's Secret Crush. Still, who's in 11th. Amazingly, but they have a 9-3 record, so they remain in 4th place. Then we take a giant leap from the 9-3s to the 6-6 team, the 1-6-6 team, which is the Wakanda Panthers. With 18 points. The Hagglers, then we get into a bit of logjam territory with the Hagglers in the lead with 1,450 points, so a 21 or a 31 point lead on your next closest competitor, which is Nick and Jamie at 5-7 also, and Tillet Trey at 5-7 with 1,412, so they are 38 points behind you. Then we get to the 4-8, the Lightning Rods with 1,492. They have more points than any of the 5-7 teams. the Monkeys with 1368, and by virtue of that, they're probably eliminated. And then the 3 and 9s, who are literally eliminated, the only two teams that are actually eliminated, are Dave Secret Crush and Zamunda with 3 and 9 and 3 and 9. Though the Zamunda has a much lower 3 and 9 with only 1,200 points, not even nearly 400, more than a 400-point deficit from the highest. So yeah, but you know they're battling out for that tray. So this sets up some very interesting playoff scenarios. So, do we begin with the bottom scenarios or the top scenario? I mean, I guess we could begin with the top scenario. It's pretty simple. 1603ers and the finest play each other. The winner gets first place. There's pretty much almost no question about that. I mean, technically, if the 1603ers lost, no, I'm sorry, if the 1603ers won, technically, the Whalers, I mean, they would have to score 110 more points than the 1603ers would this week. It's unlikely, but that could put them in first. But, I mean, it's their only shot at first, but that's unlikely, and the Blues really don't have any chance there. So, but, you know, a loss for the 1603ers, and we could drop as low as fourth. Very realistically, by the way.
Wait, if the 1603ers lose, there's no way the Whalers can get first, because that means I would win.
I didn't say if we lost. I said if we won.
If you won, that they would be 10-3. I would be 10-3.
Everybody
Oh, okay.
would be 10-3,
right.
and they would have to get 100 and something more points. The only thing that's assured is that the loser of our game will not get first. I mean, will not get.
Right.
Yeah, they won't. I mean, because I already have more points than you, so if I were to win, you would not score more points than me, which would mean that would put me ahead of you. But the Whalers are not getting 110 more points than me this week. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen, but I mean, come on.
Well, they have to hope for like a 95 to 85 victory for you, and then like
get like
they
200
score
points.
like almost 200, right?
Yeah, so it's possible, but that would be very, very unlikely. And then so essentially it just moves down the ladder. So 1603's loss would probably move the Whalers into second place with a win. If both the Whalers and the 1603ers lose and the Blues win, then they would move into second place, moving the Whalers down to fourth and the 1603ers down to third. So it's just basically the ladder of those teams. Any win by any of them, and it's stays the same, with the possibility of the 1603s leapfrogging the finest. The lowest the finest can realistically drop would be third. You have a 25-point lead on the Whalers. So the Whalers has to, in order for the Whalers to get the bye with a finest loss, would be 25 point. Beat your score by 25 points. However, with the finest win and a Whalers win, they'll get the bye. So they're probably rooting for you this week. As painful as it is.
Yeah. Which sets up, because the Whalers are favored to beat the Lightning Rod, so that almost makes it like a must-win for you and me.
Yeah, right. Though it's possible that the Whalers could falter against the Lightning Rod. I mean, the Lightning Rods are not a team to sneeze at, really. So I mean, which could put the Blues. They're not going to get the bye, though. But the Blues, no, they could get the bye. If both the Whalers and I lost, the Blues could get the bye, which would be amazing.
I wouldn't mind that happening. That would be nice. I would love that. I mean, and then the 1603ers and the Whalers lose in the wild card round, and then I have an easy road to the championship. Oh, that would be amazing.
I mean, that would be, but unlikely as it may be, it is a scenario that is possible out there. As far as making the playoffs now, because this has been the case for 3 weeks. Those 4 teams cannot drop lower than 4th, and they have 3 games in hand against all these other teams, at minimum. Wakanda, they win and they're in. That's they'll actually have a winning record. We're also guaranteed that one playoff team will get in with a losing record, at least one. Possibly 2, but at least one is going to get in at 6 and 7. So our normal thing of saying 7 losses eliminates you, it's actually not holding true this year. That's amazing. I think that's happened once before when Nick and Jamie got in at 6 and 7. But yeah, so the Panthers' road is very easy. They just need one. They just need to win this week. They're playing the Blues. If they win this week and everything goes as they would be expected, they would play the Blues 2 weeks in a row. So yeah, but if they lose, then it becomes much dicier because any one of the logjam teams, and this is the other amazing quirk of the schedule, is that none of those logjam teams are playing each other. So it's completely possible that they could all win, they could all lose, there could be a combination of wins and losses. So Wakanda just needs to handle their business and get a win against the Blues, and they're in. Because if they don't, it suddenly becomes very dicey, especially considering the fact that they have less points than the Hagglers. They have 1 point less than Nick and Jamie. They only have 7 points more than Till Trey, and they have way less than the Lightning Rods. So this is, despite having 1 game in hand, the win this week for this past week for the Wakanda basically puts them in a position where they win, they're in, they lose, there's a good chance that they might be out. So this is a playoff game for them. For the Hagglers, the situation is basically, it's not as clear cut as the Panthers, but a win and you're likely in, though you still have to watch points. You do have at least 31 points in hand against your next lowest player, but you have to win and beat them by 31 points. For Nick and Jamie, if the Hagglers were to lose, it suddenly opens things up for a lot of teams, and the playoffs become wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Nick and Jamie win. So if the Hagglers lose, Nick and Jamie would be the first in the ladder to get in if they were to win. If the Hagglers and Nick and Jamie lose, Till Trey would be the first in the ladder to get in. And if the Nick and Jamie, the Hagglers, and Till Trey all lost, the Lightning Rods won, they would get in by points. Now, if the Lightning Rods win, that's basically the scenarios there. So all of you basically need a win. If you don't win, so if the Lightning Rods, let's put it this way, if the Lightning Rods lose, they are eliminated. And then here is, well, no, this scenario is not going to happen because the Monkeys have way too much. I was going to say, if all of you lost and the Monkeys won, then they'd have a chance, but they really don't. So, they'd have to get like 100 and they'd have to beat the Hagglers' score by 100 or by 90 something points, 80 something points. They'd have to have everybody lose and beat the Hagglers' score by 80 points. That's a tall order. So yeah, that's your scenarios right there.
Yeah, that's some interesting situations that have to occur, but we've seen worse, right?
Yeah, I know. So everybody, essentially everybody needs a win this week. and honestly, in the battle for last place, those teams kind of want to win too. And they're playing for $5 as well. So, I guess that moves us into the actual games. So there are no games this week that are meaningless. I don't even know where you start in terms of, what would you say out of this is the most meaningful?
This is where the real money discussions begin. This is the probably most ridiculous playoff scenario we've ever had. Like this is the hottest podcast, most meaningful playoffs. Never before have we had a podcast where all the games had playoff implications. Where like you couldn't even skip it. You couldn't just like, all right, let's start with this meaningless nothing game. All the games at this point mean something.
Every single one.
Even the 2-9, the champ is here, Eugene, means something. So why don't we start there?
They're 3-9, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, 3-9. Sorry, didn't mean to shortchange the champ. 3-9. The champ is here. Let's start there.
And if the champ shows up here, he could be 4-9, and he only, ironically, could be one game out of the playoff spot. I mean, he'll run out of weeks, but he could have been one game out.
But
and
more
had more
importantly,
points than Lombardi.
he could take somebody else down with him.
Right, and he would get to take you down with him. He's got to relish that.
Let's start with the battle of the past and the present champ. The last game as the champ, Eugene versus the Hagglers.
Yes. So the Hagglers have already lost. Yes, the two previous champs. This is Dave's Secret Crush last game as the champion.
Yep. Yes.
Because we don't count consolation games as anything. So, yeah. So right now the projection is 126.68 to 113.58 for in favor of the Hagglers. All right, where do we start? So you got Mayfield for Eugene. You have Mayfield at Pittsburgh, Godwin at Jacksonville, and Evans at Jacksonville. I mean, you might have been taunting the fantasy gods by saying, we know how to handle Mike Evans. Is Mike Evans going to be the one who goes off against Jacksonville to ruin your season?
This is the first time we've had to deal with Mike Evans this late in the season in a meaningful game. Unfortunately, but
he's kind of pissed at the Hagglers,
Yes, he is, but you know what? The champ is. What is it? Let's see what he's doing. Sanders, Hopkins.
And mind you, the champ has more points than the fourth place team. Like,
he does.
Let's not. Yeah. He has a terrible record, but he's been snake bitten all season long. He's not some, horrid team. He's not Zamunda, and even Zamunda has had huge wins, as we talked about.
No, true. That's very true. But you know what? This hasn't been like the Hagglers' main goal was to survive Week 12 with all the ridiculous buys in a chance to make the playoffs, and we're actually in sixth, so that's fine. So let's look at the matchup head on. So Mayfield, like you said, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is fine. I mean, they played Miami and they roasted that defense. It's fine.
But this is a rematch game in Pittsburgh, a grudge match after 2 weeks ago.
Grudge match. Yep.
Where they handled them. They handled them 2 weeks ago, but now they don't have Myles Garrett. They have all that other stuff going on.
He's got Amari Cooper, who had 0 points last week and got called out by the owner.
But But I got to be honest with you, that is a recipe for somebody to come back and have a big game.
I was gonna say that's not good. That's actually not good. When you get called out by the owner, that's not good.
Especially when you have the Cowboys on a Thanksgiving Thursday game.
Right.
I think Cooper has a big game here.
He might have a pretty well. He's going to be trailed by the Buffalo Bills' best cornerback if they even have one. I'm hoping somebody's just get a body on him. So it's going to be big. I mean, let's. You don't even want to go up against the one-on-one matchups. Let's just say the champ Eugene Gazimput has a chance to knock out the previous champ. That's enough. That's big enough on its own. Like that's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean,
and someone always torches the Jacksonville defense. This week it might be Godwin and Evans. Last week it was Tannehill and Henry.
Yeah, we saw what happened in that game. Certainly. And then, all right, so you got Jacobs against KC. The KC run defense is not place a lot of fear in there. Miles Sanders at Miami. I mean, that's a pretty good matchup for him.
Yes.
Something's got to be done about Hawkinson. I don't even think he's questionable. I don't even think he'll play him. But he has Witten. He'll probably play Witten, I would think.
Yeah, probably.
He still has the Cleveland defense. That's an interesting play. We'll see if that actually sticks. But okay, let's move over to the other side of the ball. Let's see what kind of advantages or disadvantages you have. Are you going to go with Darnold?
Ironically enough, maybe the Jets get it done. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. What's going on with Hill's injury status?
Well, first of all, we were cruising along with Matthew Stafford until my back. A couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden he starts, my back. What do you mean your back? What are you talking about?
How many of your players have how many of your quarterbacks have injured themselves in practice throughout your history? I mean, Deshaun Watson, hello?
I mean, we've already said this. Lamar Jackson is my Deshaun Watson. You are reaping the benefits of a Deshaun Watson at his full battlefield potential. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, your guy is living up the dream, and my guy, in practice, I hurt my knee. I hurt my ACL.
Yeah, same thing. But I mean, but the season that you won it all was the season that happened to Watson. So you had to go in with Flacco. Now you go in with Darnold. I mean, is this?
Yeah, but that's come on.
But so what's going on with Hill? Is he? How's he doing?
Hill is what?
He's questionable.
He's questionable every week.
Okay, he's optimistic.
Thanks, Manny, for the questionable trades.
He spent time recovering. He's in the sideline. At this time, should fire up. Hill as a top 3 receiver against Oakland. Okay, so it looks like
who knows that? Hill?
Yeah, Hill.
Hill himself?
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's coming off a bye, so he should be in.
Yeah, he should be in. Hopefully. For the Haggers. Devontae Adams at the Giants. That's a good matchup for him. Eckler at Denver. That's a pretty good matchup. Who did Denver play last week? Was it Chicago? No, who did they play? No, that was the Giants.
No, they played the Bills last week. They didn't look that great, but the defense is still solid.
Yeah, I mean, Singleton got double digits. Gore got his record. He's the third greatest all time, apparently. He surpassed Barry Sanders. When I think, who's better, Gore or Sanders? Barry Sanders.
Yeah, when you think of the all-time NFL rushers, does Frank Snore really just come to mind?
Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Frank Gore. Unbelievable.
Frank Gore. Do I think of Frank Snore before Barry Sanders? Not really.
But apparently, yardage-wise, he is. So you have Eckler going there at Denver. Drake, who seems to be the number 1 guy in Arizona.
For what that's worth, their running game is horrendous.
No, it's not. Every week, the Arizona
running game is horrendous. Yes.
What are you talking about? Their running backs. You had David Johnson was getting all those points, and then he went down. Then it was Edmonds that was getting all these points, and now it's Drake getting all these points. Their running backs have not been horrendous. I mean, the last game that Drake played, and he seems to be the number 1 guy. He got 28
You're
points
against running backs with running games.
Oh, sorry. What?
There are people who play the running back position, but they don't run the ball very much.
Doesn't matter.
The running game in Arizona is non-existent.
Yeah, but they still have they still get running back points, so I think that you'll be okay there. Hunter Henry, you're firing him up at Denver. Which
and a very familiar face in Hawkinson right now.
Yeah, I know. Although we'll see if he goes with them. Gallup versus Buffalo. I mean, how do you think Gallup does in this game?
You know what?
Because you got Gallup against Cooper.
I don't know if Gallup was really such a great pickup.
Also, you have Gallup in the flex, which, on a Thursday game.
I was very happy to get rid of Gallup.
Yeah, I know that. I know.
If I were you, I would at least move him.
That laugh says it all.
I think that perhaps if I was the Hagglers, I would move Gallup up, to face right against Cooper,
to
move
not
Tyreek
play.
Hill down to the flex just to make sure, just in case any injuries happen. Because the last thing you want is Gallup to freeze up your flex, Tyreek Hill to go down, and then you're stuck. So you should definitely move Gallup up to a wide receiver 2 territory if you're going to do that.
Yeah, I think I should move Gallup up to not playing.
Well, you could do that too. Although, because you still have Jamal Williams at the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really want Gallup? I mean, Gallup did get more points than Cooper, but do you want the Gallup-Cooper battle this week?
No.
Austin Hooper is questionable.
Yeah, he's been questionable since I got him.
And he's certainly he's questionable. He's questionable.
He was producing on my team.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's
That's
also
great.
questionable, and I don't even know. Do you want him to be questionable, or do you want to just be out? I mean, well, you guess you have Stafford on your IR, so whatever. The Yahoo gurus who refuse to rule any hagglers out until they have to.
Yeah, that's great.
Look, you look at this. The hagglers should win, but Mike Evans, if he goes off. If Cooper gets the targets, if Jacobs plays well against a weak defense and Sanders too, I mean, it could be a very different story. And then you have to hope to pull an inside straight if that were to happen.
One of them will go off, Godwin or Evans. It's kind of inevitable. Every week it's happened.
Right. It's just a question of which one he'll play both. But I mean, then you have to hope that the combined total between the two of them is at least at a reasonable, wide receiver score.
You also have to hope that Jordan Howard plays because otherwise Miles Sanders might go off.
Right, against Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is a very tough game for the Hagglers. I mean, yeah, it is.
And Kansas City can't stop anyone, so
No.
Andy Reid doesn't give a flying fuck about defense. So,
I mean, and then you put in Witten. If Witten gets like a touchdown or something,
I would play Witten instead of Hawkinson.
oh, I think he's going to. I think that's if he's paying attention, he will. So
Yeah.
and
I might also play Montgomery.
his buddy Montgomery, David Montgomery. Wouldn't that be ironic if that's what destroyed your season?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think the Lions have lost how many Thanksgiving games in a row? They're not really known to perform well. But I mean, then again, he has Evans, Cooper, and Jacobs, Sanders, and Evans running his RBs and his flex. So
I think the only thing that he has to do is put in Witten. Mayfield has to have a good game, and I mean, look, I think Darnold will have a good game too. But yeah, this is a really close game. I'm sorry, this is very close.
Yep.
very close. I'd have to slightly side with the Hagglers, though. I think.
No, I don't feel if you slightly side with Eugene right now, because the more I look at this game, the less confident I feel right now. Even with the lightning rods throwing that late game pick until not getting that field goal, this doesn't look very good. It looked good last night, but it doesn't look good right now.
When you get 4 more eyeballs on this game.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I'm starting to take a closer look, and it doesn't really look that good.
I mean, also the Hagglers have been sitting there being like, how many games in a row could we lose and still make the playoffs? I don't feel like there's been that championship swagger and vibe. I don't know. Let's see if they turn it around. They in these games, in these must-win games, you're undefeated. I mean, you could go into the playoffs and you can go into the games that you need to win. I mean, last year, well, actually, you're not undefeated because the first season that you were around.
Oh yeah, that was not good.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I might pick. Well, Eugene. I mean, he's snake bitten. Is it going to be an ironic way in which he's going to lose? I think that's really the question. I think I'm picking Eugene in this game unless there is an ironic way in which he loses. Is there one more? Does he have one more ironic rabbit to pull out of his hat?
I think he's already lost all the ironic ways. I think this might be a problem.
Who will show their championship medal?
I mean, we'll see. We'll see how involved in the podcast you are going forward if you don't win this game. And we know once we get to drunk geese.
That's going to be rough, Bob. I'm going to make this announcement early. We might be a two-man booth.
No, you're always here, but it's a very different when Geese doesn't give a fuck. We all know what that broadcast is like.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pick Eugene.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't blame right now.
One champ knocks out the other.
Wow.
Obviously, you're gonna pick yourself. I'm gonna imagine.
I have to. I have to, but it's one of those.
I'd have to side slightly with the Hagglers too. I think I like their matchup slightly more. And I think Hill is due for a big game. Devontae Adams is due for a big game.
Right.
I think Dave Secret Crush wins the running back battle, but overall, I think the Hagglers have slightly better team going into this week.
All right, thank you, man.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm rooting for you.
No, that's great. Yeah,
just for the benefit of our listening audience, I'm rooting for you. All right. So let's go to some other games. I think obviously no games mean nothing, but let's go to the win and you're in game, which is the Wakanda Panthers versus the St. Louis Blues. This could be a game. This could be a game where these two teams play each other 2 weeks in a row. But in order for that to happen, the Wakanda Panthers would have to win the first of the two, which sets up a very interesting wild card matchup, if that were to be the case. So the Blues are slightly favored, 118.09 to 116.17 over Wakanda. And that's with Carson Wentz as questionable. Now, here's the interesting thing. I think the latest update is that he might play. He's considered day-to-day. He has the hand injury. He's playing against Miami. But he's got Mahomes. He's obviously going to play Mahomes. So that changes this calculation completely. Although, does it? I mean, it has to. I mean, you're not going to play Wentz. I mean, even though he's playing Miami, you're going to have to play Mahomes, I would think, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Against Oakland. Okay. Beckham at Pittsburgh. Metcalf versus Minnesota. Coleman against Baltimore. Aaron Jones at the Giants. That's at least a positive matchup finally, although he only got 3.8 points last week. Andrews versus San Francisco. Andrew didn't, I mean, he's lit up plenty of games, but he only got 6.5 in that game last week. Malcolm Hollywood Brown versus San Francisco. Another tough match. So he's got both of the Baltimore players versus San Francisco. Vinatieri versus Tennessee, and then the Baltimore defense. So he's going with the three Baltimores once again, but this time they're playing San Francisco. That's going to be tough. He's going to need Mahomie to have a huge game here. For Wakanda, Breeze at Atlanta. That's a good game for him. Cooper Kupp at Arizona. I mean, who knows with this Rams offense? I mean, if Cooper Kupp is going to have a good game, this would be where he would have it. Randall Cobb versus Buffalo. Meh, I don't really feel anything about that. Ingram versus San Francisco. It's a tough matchup, but I still think that Ingram will do well. Not fantastically, but he'll do well. Le'Veon Bell at Cincinnati. He'll have a good game. Jack Doyle versus Tennessee. Nah. And then Scarborough locking up his flex versus Chicago. He's got Sony Michel. Latavius Murray. Oh, God. This is such garbage that's sitting around here. I think hockey pulls this out because they both have tough matchups, but I think that the Blues have way tougher matchups. And I think that Mahomes is the only one that could save him, but I think that Wakanda has Breeze at Atlanta. I think Wakanda has a few less terrible matchups. I mean, this Baltimore-San Francisco game, they all have players in this game. I mean, hockey's got to hope that everything goes to Ingram. The Blues have to hope that everything goes to Andrews and Brown. So I got to favor Wakanda slightly, only because of the matchups.
I would agree with that. Although I don't want Wakanda to win, obviously.
Right.
But based on what you said, I think that Blues and his matchups, I think that Wakanda wins this one.
But that being said, the Blues finds a way to win all the time too. I mean, they're the opposite of Eugene this year. I mean, they have, like I said, they have less points in them, yet they seem to find a way to win all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and this is a linchpin game. I mean, first of all, like I said, if Wakanda gets in, if they win, then they're in. If they lose, there's a good chance that they're out. But this is the game that determines so much. And if they lose this game, then that means that there will be 2 playoff teams without a winning record.
Yep, basically, yep.
Not even basically, guaranteed. Nobody, if they lose, there will be 2 teams, and the teams will have a 5 and no, they'll have a 6 and 8 record. Is that right? Or 6 and 7 record? No, 6 and 7 record.
No, 6 and 7.
6 and 7. 6 and 7 record.
Yep. Hey, whatever it takes to get in, baby. I'm not going to oppose that.
But this is the linchpin game. This determines so much for everybody down there.
Yep.
I mean, your game is important, but if Wakanda loses, this opens everything up. The floodgates of the log. If this log gets unjammed, then the floodgate. This is the log that's holding the jam. If this gets dislodged.
Yeah, but Wakanda's already ahead of me. So, are you saying so?
They're ahead of you because of record. They're not ahead of you because of points. You have way more points than him.
Yeah, true. Yeah, this is the log that causes the toilet bowl to keep spinning around and around and around until somebody flushes it out.
I'd honestly have to go with the Blues in this matchup. I think, considering he starts Mahomes, I mean, the freaking Sam Darnold put up a gazillion points against the Oakland defense.
True.
So I think he's in for a monster game. I think Beckham can have 1 to 2 touchdowns. And I think Aaron Jones has a great matchup. And Lamar has proven that even against crappy defenses, he performs. I mean, trust me, I don't want that to happen as I'm playing him this week. But I think Andrews, Brown, I think they can hold their own. So I think this almost comes down to Mahomes and Jones against Breeze and Le'Veon Bell in terms of the players that have favorable matchups and see who can perform better.
I think that's completely valid analysis and way to look at it. I think that's totally possible.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, let me say. I mean, this might. I mean, I don't even know which game. Well, I do know which game everybody watched, but I mean, actually, in terms of getting into the playoffs, this is the linchpin game. This is where it all rests on. So, Geese, who did you say you were picking?
Obviously, I'm not picking hockey.
Not because of what you want, but because of what you think.
Because I think the Blues and what I want and what I think is the same.
Okay, so all right.
I mean, honestly, I'm nervous about our matchup this week, but if I was Wakanda or the Hagglers, I mean, I would be way more nervous. I mean, they have way more at stake. I mean, I'm just competing for a bye at this point, but these teams are competing for,
their
a
season
chance
can be
to
over.
win.
Yeah, their season
Exactly.
can be over.
So, I mean, I really shouldn't be complaining or whining about my situation because other teams have definitely tougher situations.
Yeah. All right. So 2 for the Blues, 1 for Wakanda. All right. I wonder if this is gonna open. I mean, maybe. I'm not saying the Blues won't win. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the last time these two teams played, that was the game where we were like, oh my God, hockey's unstoppable. I mean, where Breeze went down and his defense kept keeping him in it. But the Blues ended up with the 167 that week. The last time these two teams played, it was quite a matchup too. So we get to see that again, perhaps 2 weeks in a row, perhaps for the last time. Perhaps Lone Star, we meet again for the first time, for the last time.
For the last time.
All right. I guess we could move to Nick and Jamie versus Zamunda. Let's see. So right now the projection is 112.38 to 100 in favor of Nick and Jamie. Zamunda looked terrible last week. Okay, so you got Tannehill at the amazing Ryan Tannehill at Indianapolis. Galladay versus Chicago. Ridley versus New Orleans. Ridley can have another big game. Henry, we know what he could do now. He seems to get 75-yard touchdowns every week now.
Every week, yep.
Williams versus Tennessee. So he's got both running backs playing in the same game. And I think Williams is going to go, but if he doesn't, they have Mack sitting there. But Mack is out. Okay, so either way, I mean, that's a good running back core. Fells he's going with versus Kittle. Kittle can do something. So T.Y. Hilton, he hasn't been doing anything. Then Gay and Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh, the defense actually is going to have a really good game in that grudge match. It looks like Devonta Freeman might be back in this game. He gets a full practice in. So I would, if I were Nick and Jamie, I might move Freeman up there instead of Hilton because Hilton hasn't been doing anything. As far as tight ends, I don't know what they do there, but whatever. I mean, because they have Pascal on the bench too, and Hilton. I would just stay away from that. I would go with Freeman. Yeah, and then all right, we could look at the other side of the ledger. He's got Phillip Rivers at Denver or Derek Carr at Kansas City. I think you go with Carr at Kansas City, but ew. Williams at Kansas City, also ew. Danny Amendola versus Chicago. Ugh. Kamara at Atlanta, he could at least have a good game. And then he still has the two Washington running backs, Peterson and Geis at Carolina. Kittle at least should have a good game. He still has, he has the Oakland kicker to go for the Oakland trifecta and New Orleans at Atlanta. I mean, come on. Nick and Jamie are winning this game. Nick and Jamie are going to put the pressure on everybody else because they're going to win this game. I mean, does anybody think that they're not? Hello?
I agree with you full-heartedly. Even though I do not want Nick and Jamie to win just for spite.
Oh, that's right.
But...
I forgot. This is yeah. And if they win, they could be sitting there in a playoff spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So I have high rooting interest in this game because I do not want to play them for the third time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to say, that being said, they're the clear favorites in this game, and I don't see them losing. But my heart truly wants them to lose.
Jeez. Obviously, you want them to lose too.
I do. Yep.
Because it will relieve some pressure down there at the bottom. But I'm sorry.
Yep.
I think they are going to put. They're winning. But go ahead, Geese. What's your prediction?
In this one, I would take. I mean, I was rooting for Zamunda, but they no longer serve my purposes. So
they do serve your purposes, but.
Yeah, but not really. I have to win. I eventually have to win, like you said. I have to win on my own. We actually have to win a game on our own merits, so I'll go with Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see. I mean, it would. I don't see that happening. Nick and Jamie, I think should have this one, and it's going to put a massive amount of pressure on. And so let's see. So Nick and Jamie, as I said, are 31 points behind the Hagglers in terms of points, but they are 1 point ahead of Wakanda. So if Nick and Jamie, basically, if they win and Wakanda loses, it comes down to a battle between who gets more points this game. So not only is Nick and Jamie playing Zamunda, but they're also they're hoping that Wakanda loses and they're playing Wakanda's point total. Or they're hoping that the Hagglers lose. So.
No, they were that close to Wakanda.
1 point. They're 1 point ahead of them.
Wow. There's more. Maybe we should pay attention to beating Yuji.
You think? And they're 7 points ahead of Tillett. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. This whole podcast has changed my whole perspective on the league.
You're taking a month off and just hoping that other teams
a month
lose?
off like I was a champ in first place right now. But you know what? Maybe with all these numbers you've thrown out tonight, maybe I should take another look at this.
Yeah. I mean, Nick and Jamie, with one falter, if either Wakanda loses or if the Hagglers lose, suddenly the playoffs open up for them.
Wow. Holy shit. This is actually pretty serious right now. So I'll get back to you on that.
If they sneak in, it better be in week 15 and not 14. If it's week 14, I'm going to be pissed off.
I've been talking about that scenario for a while. You've been laughing it off. Laugh it
It's
off,
getting,
fuzzball.
It's getting real quick. Oh my god.
All right, so that moves us to another game. All right, so this game, all right. Tillett Trey versus the Monkeys. Talk about another pressure valve down there at the bottom. The Monkeys were atrocious last week. So right now the projection is 120.73 to 95.65 in favor of Tillett. So he's got Brady at Houston. Julio Jones, who is he missed practice. He's got the shoulder injury. We'll see. This also means that Ridley might have another good game. Who had Ridley? We were talking about that. Nick and Jamie. Yeah, just to pad their stats, right? Or is it who has Ridley? It's Nick and Jamie, right? Yeah. Okay. Chark, who, first of all, Chark has been unbelievable, and he's going against Tampa Bay. I mean, Chark is going to have a gigantic game, which is something to pay attention to because this is a points battle. And if Chark can go off for like 30-some-odd points, he could make up the difference right there with a lot of teams, with Nick and Jamie, with Wakanda, with the Hagglers. I mean, just to add more woes to the Hagglers right there and put even more pressure on you. Fournette versus Tampa Bay. I mean, look at what Fournette did last week. He does have a problem with the RB2 with the Bellagio. But other than that, Olsen versus Washington, that's a pretty decent matchup. Clam Crowder against Cincinnati. I mean, I think that's a good matchup. I think Zerline gets back on track. I mean, he was already on track, yesterday. But now he's playing Arizona, and then San Francisco versus the Baltimore defense. I don't know if San Francisco does that well this week because it's not like Baltimore turns it over that often. So I don't know. We'll see. For the Monkeys, he's got Ryan versus New Orleans. I think that's a decent matchup. I mean, he still also has the option to have Jameis Winston at Jacksonville. I think I'd go with Ryan actually. Marvin Jones Jr. versus Chicago. Anthony Miller at Detroit, so two wide receivers in that Thursday night turkey game. James White at Houston. Saquon Barkley versus Green Bay. Goddard at Miami. Renfro's out, so he's going to have to replace Renfro with Oh, Dalvin Cook, obviously. And then Fairbairn and the Atlanta defense, or whatever he does there. Tillard's going to win this game. I mean, come on. And just add more pressure. Thoughts? Unmute your things, Friedman, Lay, and Geese.
Yes, I think
Come on.
there's no way the Monkeys lose.
You mean win?
Yeah, no way the Monkeys win.
No.
Unless Barkley can get back to his old self. I mean, his two best running backs have tough matchups. So that really reduces his chances.
Well, who's
yeah, but it's
Seattle,
a tough matchup at Seattle.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Very tough. So, I mean, Tampa Bay is good stopping the run, but I think Fournette, he gets so many carries, so he's still going to have a good amount of points. He might want to consider changing up his defense to Latre. I think Baltimore has scored against everyone. Doesn't matter what defense they play. So I think they're still going to put up points. But Chark might have a good game. Julio,
Chark is going to have a fantastic game. Chark is going to make up the difference in. I mean, Chark scored. How much did he score last week? He scored. Oh, sorry, it was only 10 last week. But 2 weeks ago, he scored 30.4 points against Indiana. He's going against the defense that gives up. I mean, come on. Chark is going to go off.
Well, I hope it's Chark and not Westbrook. That's for sure.
I hope for the opposite, but still. But Geese, another game that you're going to have to pay attention to and gives you some nervousness.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately.
And anything else?
I actually have to play some actual football in this matchup against Eugene.
Yeah. Because I'm telling you right now, Tillett is winning and Nick and Jamie are winning, which just puts enormous upward pressure on the Haggos. And by the way, the Haggos have to score too. I mean, because like I said, Chark can make up the difference.
Yeah, he definitely can. So
not only do you need a win, but you're going to need some points too.
Yeah, that's great.
You finally have to win a game.
Finally, yeah. We can't just do whatever.
I mean, that's good practice for the playoffs because generally in the playoffs you can't lose your way forward.
You're right. Exactly.
So is anybody going to even take a chance on the Monkeys here?
No.
Geese, I mean, come on, you're not going to.
No, get out of here. The Monkeys? No.
All right. So now we get into one of the more interesting games. So the Lightning Rods versus the Whalers. So the projection right now is 131.89 to 124.73 in favor of the Whalers. Let's look at these matchups. I mean, the Whalers has been quietly pretty damn good. And he was the team that was in first place, right? When because you played him for first place, took it over, and then you've sat there the entire time, right? So far,
right? Yep.
And since then, I feel like other than the Week 10 dust up, he's kind of just been quietly just demolishing his opponents. And it has it doesn't even necessarily. I can't point to the schedule and say, no,
not really. You could talk about it in the beginning of the season because he had a very low point total, but was first.
Yeah, but he's been playing some good teams, some bad teams, but it doesn't matter. His score has been so high and just demolishing them. Every week he's been what do we call him? The London game, where nobody's even paying attention because we just know that the Whalers are gonna blow out the game. I mean, this is a game that could pose a challenge to him, but I still think that he's probably going to. But let's look at the matchup. So he's got Watson versus New England. Now, this is a tough matchup for his quarterback. And Watson a couple weeks ago shit the bed. So we'll see. He's got Michael Thomas at Atlanta. I mean, my God, is that going to be a points factory? Tyler Lockett versus Minnesota. Tough matchup, and Lockett hasn't been doing that fantastically. Mixon, who was great up until last week. Does he have a bounce-back game? I don't know. Melvin Gordon, he gets back at Denver. Gordon will do well. Ertz at Miami. Come on, Ertz is going to have a fantastic game. Right now, he's got Ingram in there. Let's see if Ingram plays, but he's got him against Green Bay. He still has Robinson available. He's still got Singletary sitting there. Maybe Sterling Shepard even. I mean, he's got a ton of options there. But if Ingram plays, I think that's a pretty good play given all of the injuries that are going on, especially if Golden Tate sits out. Tucker versus San Francisco. Tucker's been, we joked, he's the all-star of the team, but he's been solid all the way around. And Los Angeles at Arizona, and Arizona is a sack turnover factory. So it looks good for the Whalers. I mean, other than Deshaun Watson at New England, I mean, and, that could be, they're playing in Houston. They're not playing in the rain, so I think the Whalers have a lot of good matchups here. And let's not forget, this is a big game for the Whalers, too. Obviously, it's not to the stakes that the Lightning Rods are in, but, there's a lot at stake for him as well. For the Lightning Rods, he has Russell Wilson versus Minnesota on Monday night. It's a tough matchup, but Wilson can certainly shine in big games. Edelman at Houston. I mean, obviously, Edelman has been nothing short of Edelman the whole time. He's going to get you, he's going to get you, your 17 to 20 points. Robbie Anderson, interesting. At Cincinnati, Cincinnati's pass defense is not as atrocious as the rest of the team. I don't know. We'll see there. Elliott versus Buffalo on Thursday during the Thanksgiving game. Elliott will have a good game. Philip Lindsay versus the Chargers. Lindsay's been slipping the last two games, but he's played Minnesota and Buffalo. This week he has the Chargers who've been giving it up on the ground. I think Lindsay has a rebound game. Hollister's clothing store. I don't know. He had 19 and 20, and then he had 4.2. I don't know. Now he's playing Minnesota. Whatever. I don't have anything there. Tariq Cohen, this guy was written off for freaking dead at the beginning of the season. I mean, how many times has he passed around? He's been getting double digits every week. And this was the guy that he wanted in the trade with the Hagglers, and he ended up getting him, and he's been performing. So I think he gets double digits there. Then he's got Hauschka and Chicago so Chicago has been faltering the defense the last couple of weeks, but now they're playing Detroit. I think Chicago has a good game. This is going to be competitive. I mean, does he play? He's also got Diggs in there. He's, Diggs on the bench. He does have Goff, but he obviously not going to play Goff, especially even with a tough matchup, you're going to play Russell Wilson. I mean, I think I saw a stat, and I think it's true. I don't think Goff has not thrown a touchdown in all of November. So he also has Woods. He has Stills. Butker will go back in there, actually, for Hauschka. This is a good game. This is a really good game.
Excellent game. I'm actually going to go with the Lightning Rods in this game. I think besides Michael Thomas, the matchups, and Zach Ertz, I guess, the matchups for the Whalers are tough.
They are.
I mean,
the Whalers just fine. I mean, he's been a team that's found it from other players. I think Ertz and Thomas just power him through, and Mixon will. I think Whalers are going to pull this out, but I think that it's going to be a tougher game than one would think. But I understand. I certainly don't.
I think Elliott will have a huge game on Thanksgiving. Yeah. I think Lindsay will be good. Edelman, as you said, will give him the 17 to 20. I think Russell Wilson, now that Lamar has pulled away in the MVP race, I think Russell Wilson is due for a big game on Monday night this week.
Yeah, he's going to be on Monday night. He's going to want to showcase. He's going to want to go, hey guys, remember me?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think Watson is going to have trouble against New England. He got exposed against Baltimore, and I think Belichick will study that film and he'll replicate that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, besides Michael Thomas and Mixon to an extent and Zach Ertz, I think he has tough matchups.
He does. I mean, look, this is certainly a game where I know I'm rooting against the Whalers. I would believe you would too. Just as because if the Whalers loses this, then you will not get any lower than.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Rods, but I think they have a good chance this week. And also, I would switch out that flex. You don't want someone playing in the early Thursday night game on your flex. And I would consider putting Robert Woods in there because Arizona's pass defense isn't great.
Yeah, that's true.
Despite the Rams' anemic offense.
Yeah, I would put him in there instead of Anderson.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Anderson against Cincinnati, but how much can you trust the Jets' offense to click 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah. I mean, and maybe, I mean, like, I would definitely move Cohen instead of Lindsey and then decide if you want to go with Lindsey. You know, it gives you the options at the flex. But, I mean, you know, you're going to have you're going to have at least 2 running backs going on Thursday. And I think that you play Cohen at this point, especially at Detroit. I mean,
yeah.
There's not to. I think there's the potential that he could pull it off. I mean, I don't know, maybe.
It's a tough call. Lightning Rods have a lot of strong people on their bench this week.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, you know, I don't know. I mean, because I've been, it's interesting because the Whalers has just been so dominant lately. You know, where we haven't even dug into a deep analysis of them because it's just been so obvious that they're going to win.
Not this week, though.
No, this is the first time I've actually had to look into this team. I mean, look, they're still good. They're still good, obviously, but it could be tough. I still think that they pull it out, though. But I mean, I would love it if they didn't.
I would love it too. That would give me the bye.
Well, let me put it. Actually, let me put it this way. Actually, I will revise my statement because it's not that I would love it if they wouldn't. I would love it if they would win if I win. And get more points than you. I would love it. Not even because of matchups or anything else. I just want to see you play Nick and Jamie in the wild card round. So I am actually going to change. I'm going to change my statement in terms of who I want to win. I would like to see myself win, and I would love to see the Whalers have a huge game. But if I don't, then I do want to see the Blues and the Whalers lose. So there's a little asterisk, you know, sitting there, depending on how we do. But, Oh, my God, if we win, go Whalers.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, as long as I don't have to play Nick and Jamie.
Geez?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
What are you going to agree with? I know you just got out of your video game. You just unmuted it because you're playing video games and not even paying attention to what you're agreeing with. So what are you actually agreeing to?
I would not want to see Whalers win this week, to be honest.
Biatch.
Oh, you don't want to see them win?
No, not this week. No.
The Whalers? You want the Whalers to win?
Wait,
He's playing the Lightning Rods. Hello, pay attention.
Right.
In
that case, yes.
Oh my
Whalers
God! You're
all the way. I'm sorry. Whalers all the way.
I mean, you're not even in playoff mode yet. You're already not paying attention. This is like, are you already conceding a loss? My God, have some pride in yourself. You're already doing like your post elimination drunk geese analysis. Pay fucking attention.
Look, I'm already confident in my win against Eugene that I already don't care what the Whalers will do. But I like to see them lose. Correct.
Is this a winner? It's not a winner go home game for the Hagglers, but I mean, essentially it is, right?
For the most part, it is. Yeah.
Look, this is a lose and go home for the Lightning Rods. If the Lightning Rods lose this, they're done. they are mathematically eliminated if they lose this. If they win, then it becomes very interesting.
And how about Nick and Jamie?
Nick and Jamie, they can. I mean, depending on the point totals, they can lose and get in, but it would be unlikely. They would need to get 31 more points than the Hagglers, and they would have to have Tillet Trey and the Lightning Rods lose. But Nick and Jamie's going to win, so,
Yeah, I mean, that's the only game of the sub 500 teams that I really care about.
But obviously, Geese, you're rooting against your nemesis, I would have to think. If you're not, then that's extra insulting to the Whalers that you would just be like, oh, Whalers, I can't root against you for anything. I mean, like, my nemesis, so obviously you're rooting for the Whalers for multiple reasons. One, to eliminate your rival. And that's, and who do you think is going to win?
I think, and I'm rooting, and I know it's the Whalers.
Okay. And that leaves us with one game left. The battle for first place. I said before. Lone Star, we meet again for the first time, for the last time. I see your Schwartz is as big as The Ring. You fell for it. All right.
Hopefully you get some bad news when you're in China.
I mean, it's interesting that, China considers Taiwan part of China, but Taiwan considers China a totally separate country. So I see you're siding with Xi there. I will say neither, because I don't want to have any problems with immigration authorities there who pull up this podcast and are like, oh yeah, well now you're not getting in. Because I could swiftly be turned right back around on the plane and land here, and I will be very focused on fantasy then. I do have Go-Go in flight though, so trust me, I will be paying attention to what's going on. I even changed my phone plan so that I would have it the entire way. So I have 20 hours in front of me to do nothing but stare at this. Okay. So the projections right now are 132.72 to 126.33 in favor of the 1603ers. Going through the matchups, Lamar Jackson has a difficult matchup versus San Francisco. I mean, we'll see how difficult it is for him, but I actually do think it'll be this is a good test for him to see. I mean, he's proven that he could play well against,
It's the one defense I would hope Lamar would be playing on the game that we're playing.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, because they, maybe they can, design a scheme to contain him.
Yeah, but you more than make up for it with McCaffrey. So.
Oh yeah. Though last time we played, McCaffrey had a very difficult game. I mean, like, this would be interesting if this time.
It's not going to happen against Washington. I'm not even.
Oh no, McCaffrey's not going to have a bad game, I don't think. But I mean, look, last time McCaffrey had a tough game against Tampa Bay, which gave you the win. If Lamar Jackson is the other half, his other half has a tough game against San Francisco, it could certainly leave an opening for you there. DJ Moore versus Washington. I think that's also a plus matchup for him. Devontae Parker against that Philadelphia secondary. That's a pretty good matchup for him. We will see with Darrell Williams if he plays. I don't think Jay Ajayi will be playing this week. We'll see what happens. But frankly, my RB2, I don't even. There's enough players that if he doesn't play, I can pick him up out of the garbage can to get 4 points. I'm not really. I haven't relied on my RB2 thus far, and what are you gonna do? Waller, I think that the Renfro injury is actually very big. I think it's gonna give. So first of all, Waller's gonna be playing against Kansas City, so our at least one of our tight end combos is going to be going against each other. And I think Waller, now that Renfro's no longer there, he's going to have some more touches. You're going to have one of those Waller games. Westbrook versus Tampa Bay. Ooh, love this matchup. Tampa Bay they love to give it up to wide receivers, so very happy with that. The Atlanta kicker versus New Orleans. Last time they played, so first of all, he hasn't had lower than double digits so far, and last time they played, he had 15. So I like that. And then the Jacksonville defense versus Tampa Bay. Winston loves to turn the ball over. It's usually a high-scoring game, though, so that could knock some points down. But there are a lot of sacks and fumbles and interceptions, and I'm hoping for a touchdown there. I've thought about playing Beasley on the Thursday night game against his old team. I think he's going to have a good game, and I might regret that, but I'm just not going to think about that. Obviously, Tate is in the protocol. I'm not going to play him. I've thought about playing Boyd, frankly, versus the Jets now that Andy Dalton is back and he's demanded the ball. There's just not enough. If only I could play one, like an extra wide receiver at RB2. Designate one of these guys as a running back. It would just make such a difference. Kirk versus the Rams, Fuller versus New England. Obviously, I'm going to stay away from that. For the finest, Aaron Rodgers versus at the Giants. I think Rodgers has a good game. I think that Rodgers could even outperform Lamar Jackson. It concerns me. DeAndre Hopkins versus New England. That's got to concern you.
It does.
You got Landry at Pittsburgh, so you're going back to Landry. He's been good. He's definitely been good. I feel like I think that him and the Devontae Parker matchup is actually a very good matchup right there. I think that they kind of cancel each other out.
I think Landry has gotten a lot because they put so much attention on Beckham.
Yeah.
So he's actually been open more, I feel.
Yeah, it's true. So you're going back to Gurley? That's interesting.
It's tough. I might go back to Hunt, but it's just a good matchup against Arizona.
Okay.
It is.
I can't deny that. And then you have Chubb, so you're going with Chubb instead of Hunt.
Yes.
Okay. At Pittsburgh, I think that's it's a good choice though. The last time didn't. They play
it didn't pan out for me, but I'm gonna take a risk here. I think.
You think Chubb gets it this time? It's possible.
I do. Mm-hmm.
You're going with Cook at Atlanta. I think that's a good play. Cook has been fantastic. I'm really pissed that you've been able to get him. Whalers, what are you doing, man? What are you doing to me, man? Is this revenge for Garoppolo? I'm not accusing any collusion or anything else like that. I'm just saying, why would you let this drop to this team?
Yeah.
All right. And then you have Kelsey versus Oakland. So Prater versus Chicago. You do, yeah. And
I have a different defense hopefully coming in at 3 a.m.
Obviously.
So,
I'm not. Yeah, I would be shocked if you continued with Oakland. You also have the potential to play Howard there, which would throw.
Yeah, that's something I'm considering. I think I'm going to bench John Brown this week. Dallas's defense has actually been pretty good. Emmanuel Sanders, Baltimore's defense also has been pretty good, so I'm not going to think about him. So Jordan Howard is the only one on the bench, and Kareem Hunt, I guess.
Yeah, you got a lot of decisions to make.
I think of starting, but I think I'm going to roll with Chubb and Gurley, and then Cook and the jumbo package with my flex. Mm-hmm. So besides my defense, I think this is the team I'm going to be rolling with.
Okay. I largely think this is the team I'm going to be rolling with. I will monitor the situation. I mean, there's not many Thursday games. I mean, there's the Cook game, and then there's Prater. I don't even care about that. Other than that, I mean, I would love if there was like a lot of players playing on Thursday, especially being so far away that I could do some analysis there to see what I need to do. I don't even know what the time zone is. I should probably figure that out.
I think it's 13 hours ahead, if I'm not mistaken. 13 or 14.
Let's see. Right. Not that this is going to mean anything to anyone, but it's 1:29 p.m. right now, and it is 9:29 here. So what is that?
Well, it's 13 hours on the
4.
East Coast, so on the West Coast, it's 16 hours. 16 hours ahead.
Yeah, it's 16 hours, which means that the 10 a.m. games will be, the 10 a.m. for me games plus 16 is 10 p.m. Oh, plus 4. So it's 2 in the morning the games are going to start. Start for the day.
Yeah.
So the games start at 2 p.m. Then you add 3 more hours. So then 5 a.m. Or sorry, 2 a.m., 5 a.m. Ugh. That's another 4. Like, oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
This could not be more brutal. This is gonna have to, even with the I'm gonna have to set it and forget it.
2 a.m., 5 a.m., and 8 a.m.
Well, 9 a.m., but yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
And I don't know if does anybody have any. We don't really have anybody in that Sunday night game. Who's playing in that Sunday night game? Oh, yeah, you do. Sorry, Hopkins versus New England.
Yeah. I mean, I have to play Hopkins. I don't really have a choice there.
No, I know. Obviously, you're going to play him.
Yeah.
I
I mean, there are certain players that you have to play regardless of the matchup. You know?
I mean, McCaffrey. Lamar
Right.
Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
I
mean, I think that the projection will actually get closer as I pick a better defense.
Yeah.
So I might have a defense that scores 8 points, so the projection is going to be like 132 to 130. So it's a really high scoring projection.
No, I agree. Oh, well, right now, I mean, your defense is only getting a projection of 2. So you add 6 more points. I mean, it's basically even.
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a pick'em game. You know, I never pick myself, so obviously I'm going to pick you.
I'm going to pick you this game. I think you have the slightly better matchups in this week, and if I was a betting man, I'd go with you. But
wow, look at this! You're trying to appease the fantasy gods. You're learning.
Well, I'm not trying to appease anyone, but that one loss humbled me.
Oh wow, look at this!
Well,
Wow. Well, then it
yeah.
served its purpose.
Well, more like 2 losses from the same garbage team is what's humbling me.
Well, we shall see. Yeah, and as far as implication goes, whichever one of us wins this game will get first place. If you lose, if you were to be the one who loses, then you are not. Well, the lowest you'll fall is 3, realistically, because even if the Blues won, they would have the same record as you, but you have way more points. The lowest that I would fall, and it's very realistic to happen, is I could fall to 4th. So you want to talk about, having a ton of stuff on the line. It's the difference between 1st and 4th. A bye, the easiest team, to go, versus being in 4th, having to play the higher wild card seed, then having to go through the second place team, which will most likely be Whalers, just to get to the final, versus having the bye, playing the lowest seeded team left for only having 1 win, and then you're in the championship. So I mean, I think obviously neither of us have the stakes that some of those logjam teams have. But I think it's almost as big. I think that the team that loses this game, certainly if it's me, has a really difficult road ahead of us. If it's you, you could have a difficult road, especially if the Whalers outscores you and then you end up in 3rd and then you have to play Nick and Jamie. Then it becomes more difficult. But you could also find yourself having to play, if you were in 2nd, you either playing the Whalers, or if Nick and Jamie pull off the massive upset, they'll probably play, they would play. Probably.
If I finish 2nd, then I would have to probably play the Whalers
right.
and then you to win. right?
Yes. Well, I mean, I never count myself in, but yes, you would have to. Yeah, you would have to. I mean, whoever gets the championship.
Finishing first is really important because then you'd only have to either play you or the Whalers once.
Right.
You wouldn't have to play both of them to win the whole thing.
Right, unless I mean some weird quirk happens where the Blues finish ahead of the Whalers, which is possible. I mean, if the Whalers were to lose and the Blues were to win, the Blues would be the third place team, ironically,
right?
And then they would play the second place team, and then and then the Whalers would be fourth,
right?
And if they were to win, then they could end up playing the first place team. So, I mean, it's not the kind of thing that you could just sit there and go, oh yeah, well, whatever. I mean, you never like. This is why I don't like to get into the business of necessarily rooting for matchups, because that matchup could always screw you over. I facetiously say that I'm rooting for the matchup of you versus Nick and Jamie just because I find it tremendously entertaining. Yeah. I don't really care otherwise. I don't want to play any team. Every team concerns me, especially in a one and done. I've played enough of these one and done games that I'm concerned about playing anyone. So there's nobody that I just want to be clear. I am not rooting to play anyone. I'm just rooting for other matchups that I find interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
But yes, it is possible that the first place team could end up having to play the Whalers anyway. Although it's very unlikely that if you won that you would play the Whalers. It's possible that I could, because if I were to lose and the Whalers were to lose, no, it's possible. Yeah, and the Blues were to win, Blues would get second. Yeah, no, I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. Anything's possible at this point. So, like I said, I have a rooting. First of all, I want to be in first place, and this is a huge test anyway. So I want to win this game, but and obviously you want to be in first place. But as far as seeding goes, I mean, look, we have seen the year that Geese won, he had to go through first, second, and third place. So you certainly cannot sit there and go, oh, I want to, like it's on paper an easier road, but it's not necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's a very week to week thing.
Right. But I certainly want the bye. Let me just put it that way. I definitely
the bye is extremely important. Absolutely.
Right, and you can get that either way. But it depends. So Geese,
if I can get second, I would be almost just as happy as if I get first. I mean,
and for me, I mean, look, it's looking like it's going to be first or bust or fourth. But if somehow all the scenarios worked out and I ended up in second place, I certainly would be okay with that. I would be okay with it. I don't want to play next. I don't want to play next week. Let's just put it that way, especially on a short week where I'll be exhausted and I won't even know what to do. I'm not prepared for that game, even remotely. It would be devastating to my season.
When are you coming back from China?
On Tuesday. Tuesday night at like 9 p.m. So our actual recording will... So I will be a zombie mess when we have to record this on Wednesday. We'll have to do the whole broadcast on Wednesday for the one.
Okay. All right.
All right, Geese. Well, I still don't have your prediction for this game, Geese.
Yeah, anybody who has Lamar Jackson, I'm rooting for.
Rooting for, or
you're rooting for, or you're predicting?
Both. Anybody who has Lamar right now is a lock.
Interesting.
He just doesn't want to hear what happened, or he wants to tell me what happened when he comes into work.
I faced Lamar this week. Let me tell you something. It's pretty ugly. Lamar Jackson is an animal.
What about McCaffrey?
He's another animal. I'm not even going into McCaffrey. I'm just talking about Lamar. Somebody who has Lamar and McCaffrey, wink, wink, that's pretty bad.
He's a lighter animal. He's a whiter animal.
Yeah, exactly. He's a whiter animal. Yep.
I do remember being called out. You got the white guy as the running back? I seem to remember... I think Tillett saying that. Okay. So, wait. So you are picking the 1603. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I picked you, and that's what I get. I see what's going on.
Whatever. I'm picking you. So you got. All right. What's your lock of the week? I mean, I'd have to say it's got to be Tillett.
Yeah.
Is it Tillett or is it Nick and Jamie? Actually,
don't even. No, it's Tillett. The only lock of the week. The only lock of the week that Nick and Jamie can get is against me.
I don't know. I think I'm going with Nick and Jamie as the lock of the week. Nick and Jamie are my lock. Geese?
No, Tillett.
Okay, that makes sense. Your upset of the week. I mean, where do you even go for this?
I'd have to go with the Lightning Rods over the Whalers.
That would be an upset of the week if it happened.
That would make me extremely happy.
Like I said, it conditionally could make me happy, but not really. Dave's secret crush over the Hagglers.
Oh, don't say that. Oh, man. Oh, man.
I don't know. Maybe that'll motivate you to actually pay attention. What?
Actually happened. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Who is your upset of the week?
I'm gonna have to go with the Blues over Dr. Hockey, please.
Okay. What is your London game of the week? Which game are you paying the least attention to?
Tillett over the Monkeys.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Although, interestingly enough, I mean, what is it? 4 losses in a row for Tillett Trey?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess everybody's paying attention to Nick and Jamie versus Amunda, even though I think it's a foregone conclusion. But yeah, the Monkeys versus Tillett Trey. I mean, Tillett. If Tillett doesn't win that, I mean, I'm not. Tillett, you need to win that, and nobody's gonna watch it. Did you have a London game?
I'd have to agree.
Tillett, okay.
Yeah.
And what is your game of the week? What is your matchup game? What is the flex game? What is the Monday night, the big game of the week? I know what mine is.
Yeah, mine is the same as yours.
Yep, the first place game. Though I do think I would not blame somebody. So that's interesting. I mean, because obviously the two of us are in it, and it has gigantic stakes in terms of its first place. I mean, obviously I would think that would be put on front and center. But that is from our perspective, looking at it at the top. There are some stakes, but it's not. We're both playing next week, or we're both playing at least next week, if not 2 weeks from now. So there's only so many stakes that are involved in our game. There could be another game.
The Blues and Wakanda.
Blues and Wakanda, yeah, because it's a linchpin. I mean, it's gotta be. Yeah, Geese.
Yeah, Blues and Wakanda.
Yeah. All right.
I would say the Blues and Wakanda are the nationally televised 4:00 game, and we're the primetime 8:30 game on Sunday.
I think that's about right. All right, and then predictions since we can get there now. What are your Who do you think is in the playoffs? What do you think is the playoff picture come wildcard week next week? Anyone?
1603ers in first, the Finest in second, the Whalers in third, the Blues in fourth, I'm gonna go with Tillett Trey in fifth.
Wow!
And the Hagglers in sixth.
Whoa! Wow. So then the Hagglers, according to you, the Hagglers would be playing the Whalers and Tillett would be playing the Blues.
Yeah.
Wow. That would be something. Geez, what do you think the playoff picture looks like next week?
Everything that he said, except for Wakanda's in the playoffs and we're in sixth.
Okay.
Well, I think Wakanda's going to lose to the Blues. So that would, if the Hagglers win, they'll be 5-7 with a higher point total. And I think Tillett Trey will demolish the Monkeys. So
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think if I'm
Yeah,
going-
but in your scenario, the Wakanda's out.
They're out. Yep.
they would be with the loss to the Blues. Well, I mean, I think that the finest finish in first.
Okay.
The Whalers finish in second. The Blues finish third. The 1603ers in fourth.
Oof. Jesus.
Wakanda in fifth. And Nick and Jamie in sixth.
Oh. Leaving the Hagglers on the outside looking in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, but I'm listening to the Hagglers all broadcast. I mean, maybe going into this broadcast, I would have said differently, but I could tell this is a coach that just his heart is not in it. You know, it's in whatever Gears of War. The Hagglers coach that won the championship was obsessed the year that he won. I don't hear it. I don't hear. You were like looking mid broadcast at what to do. I don't
because his cat can do better than half his team.
Yeah.
I know. Well, his cat can always do it better than half his team. I just don't see it, but I see the passion in Nick and Jamie. I think, first of all, Nick and Jamie, they might be the team of destiny. They're the team that we're left for freaking dead. I don't see that Nick and Jamie.
Well, I will say this: Harbakian is 1-0 when calling out the team of destiny. There can only be one.
Well, then you think Nick and Jamie would beat the Blues in the wild card round and then end up playing me.
You don't think that that's possible? You don't think that that's absolutely possible?
It is absolutely possible, but I don't. I mean, I just don't. Wouldn't it be ironic also if the Blues say if Nick and Jamie finish fifth and I finish first, then we would play in the final. Can you imagine if that happened?
Harbakian is undefeated when calling out the team of destiny, and he's already called it. It's Nick and Jamie.
That means that I would be undefeated against every team going into Week 16, having to play Nick and Jamie in the championship game.
And you will lose.
Yeah.
And then if I lose that would be unbelievable.
The ratings would be through the roof.
I think Harbakian would almost. He would just die to see that happen. You would love that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if I don't win the championship, which
that's what you want.
That is what I want.
It's funny how Harbakian never calls himself the team of destiny.
How could I possibly call myself the team of destiny? I'm the Boston Red Sox pre-2004. I'm the one who finds a way to blow it.
Yeah, the curse of the.
It's the curse of the "I Want It All, I Want It Now" Queen song, or whatever you might be. With the Wang Chung. I don't even know. I don't know who I.
I just hope mine doesn't become the curse of the Nick and Jamie.
I mean, I've had too many uncanny things happen. I mean.
All I know is when my number was up to be the team of destiny, we did it. Harbakian team of destiny, you have to step up to the plate. So Nick and Jamie is officially on the record your team of destiny.
Yeah.
Geza, you better be careful because your team might slowly start to be compared to the New York Giants, who
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Have that one crazy Super Bowl run, and then they just suck the rest of the years, and then
this is Harbakian. The baseball bat has already been pointed out to left field. This is going to be a home run. He's called it already. It's Nick and Jamie.
Okay.
Yep. Unfortunately, that doesn't.
Would you rather have one championship or 10 playoff appearances?
I would rather be called the team of destiny by Dave Harbakian.
Oh, trust me. Go 22 years. I'm like Raymond Bork right now. Go 22 years. You want one championship.
Yep.
One championship.
Oh, yes.
So
1,000 times yes.
You think Eli Manning deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because of his 2 rings? Because every other year he's been absolutely atrocious.
Well, first of all, he has 2.
Okay, yeah, that's true. He has 2.
I mean, look, you're not putting Trent Dilfer in the Hall of Fame, but he's got a ring. It's all about the rings. I don't care. Look, I have been the Dan Marino of this league forever. I don't give a shit anymore. And also, by the way, I have done enough in this league, in this organization. I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer with or without a ring. I want the ring at this point. Give me a break. Right now, as far as center first ballot Hall of Famers, I mean, you know, when it's all said and done, obviously Geese, obviously LeVar, obviously Whalers. I based on, I mean, you know, like take the personalities out of it and all the, you know, other stuff. I mean, because then obvious, you know, Nick and hockey and all these people get in by virtue of that. But as far as records, those are only. I mean, are there any other first ballot Hall of Famers that you could think of in terms of records? I mean, Geese, LeVar, and Whalers. Is there anybody else that's a first ballot Hall? And me, but you know, by virtue, you know, is there any other? And I don't know. People might debate. I mean, they would.
Look, if anybody
but they would debate whether or not I would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I mean, fuck you.
Look, first of all, Harbakin, if anybody debates your entry into the Hall of Fame, they're idiots. Okay. I will stand on the podium and slam it into the ground before Harbakin, you have been there since the beginning.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the off the field stuff, because I mean, obviously you get in for those kind of things, as would Nick and, you know, and hockey and all those other things. I'm talking about by pure performance of.
Yeah, but it's like, can anybody deny? Like, luckily for you, there's Dan Marino.
Right.
If it wasn't for Dan, like you like, there's no debating. Dave Harbakin, you've been there every single time. In fantasy football, you were the only team to not make the playoffs ever in the history of fantasy football. How hard is that? I mean, just look at how hard it was this year.
Yeah, made it every year in the BHL.
There's a team that questions Dave Harbakin in the Hall of Fame. You're a moron.
Right. Yeah, but you got to win when it matters most.
Yeah, but you still get in.
Friedman, that is sacrilege. This man has built the very platform that you're trash talking right now.
Yes, but I said aside from those things, put those things aside. Put all the other stuff aside.
So, are you saying that you have paid
he has
your
more than paid his dues? All right, Friedman.
Yes, there's plenty of people in the Hall of Fame that have not won a championship. Right. So yes, okay. I think by performance, yes, I would have to get it. I'm not saying people wouldn't dispute it and, you know, have their first take and hot take in the morning, but go screw yourself. I have earned it, as have the Whalers.
We wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Dave Harbakin.
Yeah, but all that stuff aside.
It's embarrassing.
All of that stuff aside, but I'm just saying.
Only Jamel. I would have Jamel and LeVar. Be the only people to say, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Right. But obviously, I mean, you can't. Look, Geese, you cannot. I mean, you might want to come here and question, but you cannot. I mean, 10 semi-cups, the only 3 Randy Watson trophies, the clay plate.
Look. If you took all of that away, where would I be? You know, and you can't. I would not even be talking to any of you. I would be just like under a rock in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Fuck you guys. Harbakin has time and time again come close. He comes close. Remember the I Won It All season where he went 0-20?
That was the last time I missed the playoffs, by the way. Right, I don't even play that song in my life. That, by the way, speaking of fantasy gods, I actually really like that song, but I have not played that song in 21 years because of the bad taste in my mouth from that. Yeah. Who else would you put in the Hall of Fame based on record alone? Anybody besides the four that I mentioned? Geese, first ballot. Hello.
I'm here.
Yeah, I know. Well, geez. Did you press the mute button by accident? Oh, no, he didn't even press the mute button. It went out. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's an interesting discussion for later on. We don't need to have it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've gotten off on a tangent. We have an exciting football season ahead of us. Everything gets figured out right now. It's gonna be an exciting week. I mean, like to go into last season and literally have every game have meeting. It's fantastic. It's been just the best season so far, and I'm sort of sad to see it come to an end. But time moves on. So Geese, who has I don't know, disappeared. So goodbye for him. But yeah. Any final words before we move?
Nope. Should be a great week. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
So
for
the playoffs to start.
As am I. As long as I don't have to play the first week. All right. So for Geese.
All right. Yep. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Have a safe and fun trip to Hong Kong.
Thank you, and a happy Thanksgiving to everyone else. We will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
All right.